Today, Manhwa brings you an incredibly captivating story. In this story, the CEO isn't just handsome, he's also incredibly doting. And the female lead? Don't even get me started. She's not only beautiful, but also incredibly cool. At school, she's the top dog, making everyone submit to her. Even in the underworld of hackers, just mentioning her name is enough to make people tremble in fear. Sounds captivating, right? Manhwa would be so grateful if you'd support me with a like and a subscription to this channel. Without further ado, let's dive into the story. On a beautiful day, our female lead was dreaming a sweet dream when suddenly a torrent of angry shouts erupted. "You lazy goose! Why are you still asleep?" Suddenly, a pillow came flying out of nowhere, hitting the female lead squarely in the face, jolting her awake from her pleasant slumber. After taking the full force of the pillow to her head, the female lead sat up in a daze, bewildered. Where am I? Who are you? Didn't I already die?" The person who threw the pillow was none other than the woman who had intentionally switched the female lead at birth, aiming to sneak her own child into the wealthy Tan family. Her name was Tamai. Hands on her hips, she berated the female lead in a voice sharper than vinegar. "The people who are here to take you home are waiting outside. Hurry up and pack your things. Don't tell me you expect me to wait on you. Do you really think you're some kind of princess? In my eyes, you're nothing but someone I can walk all over." The female lead's mind began to clear. Looking around, she was startled, questioning her own reality. Is this my adoptive parents' house? Could it be I've been reborn? Back to the day, 17 years ago, when my real parents took me back. Tamai pointed a finger at her face, declaring with a smug certainty, "That's right. And let me warn you, you're not going back there to live a life of luxury. You have to treat your sister well. If it weren't for her, you wouldn't be able to return to the Tan family. Do you understand? She tells you to go east. You don't dare go west." Got it. The female lead sat there, lost in the memories of her past life. Despite being born into a wealthy family, she had been swapped at birth and raised by abusive adoptive parents who constantly berated and mistreated her. Anger flared within her. She stood up and brushed past Tamai, ignoring her completely. Seeing this unusual defiance, Tamai's voice rose again. "You little brat, are you deaf? I'm talking to you." Still receiving no response, Tamai, enraged, raised her hand to strike her. "You've got some nerve. You think you can rebel against me? Don't think that just because you're going back to the Tan family, I can't touch you." Just as her hand was about to connect with the female lead's face, it was intercepted. The female lead twisted Tamai's arm, her voice ice cold. "You have no right to speak to me like that." Though in pain, Tamai's shrill voice continued unabated. "You ungrateful wretch. You dare defy me. Don't think you're going back to the Tan family means I can't deal with you." The female lead responded with a swift slap across Tamai's face. "Silence. You're too loud." After the slap, she rubbed her wrist, delivering a chilling warning. "Don't worry. I'll settle the score for all the years of abuse you've inflicted on me. Every single one." Leaning in, she whispered into Tamai's ear, "Including what you've done to your precious daughter." Seeing this fierce demeanor, Tamai broke out in a cold sweat, a flicker of fear in her eyes. With that, the female lead confidently grabbed her jacket from a nearby hook, threw it on, and strode out with an air of defiance, leaving Tamai standing there, clutching her face in stunned silence, tears welling in her eyes. A chauffeur waited patiently outside. Seeing her emerge, he bowed respectfully. "Miss, the car is ready," he offered. Lam Kyo settled into the vehicle, her demeanor shifting to one of quiet contemplation. "All right," she murmured, "let's go." Only now, cocooned within the car's hushed interior, did she have the space to reflect on her past life. It had begun much the same way, her birth parents bringing her home. She had naively believed she was escaping the cruelty of her adoptive family, but reality had proved a bitter disappointment. Back in the opulent world of her true family, their love and attention had been solely focused on Chin Suru, the daughter they had raised. They had repeatedly favored Suru, inflicting 1,000 tiny cuts on Kyo's heart. She remembered the painting incident vividly. "Chinger," her mother had cooed, "this painting you've done, if we put your sister's name on it, we'll all be so happy. You're our real daughter, of course, and we'll make sure you get your time on the podium, too." The memory stung. She had been so desperate for their affection, so willing to sacrifice everything to help Chin Suru achieve fame, only to be ruthlessly betrayed in the end. Mortally wounded by Chin Suru in her past life, Kyo had clung to life, her voice choked with pain. "Why?" she gasped. "I gave you everything." The venomous Chin Suru, Her greed insatiable had simply sneered. If you don't die, she'd purred, half of the Qin family fortune will go to you. Besides, she'd added, her voice dripping with malice, I'm so much better than you. Why should Fo Tuhan love you and not me? I deserve everything. Everything good belongs to me. Kyo, enraged by Suru's audacity, had tackled her to the ground. Let me go, Qin Suru. You're insane. A lighter clutched in her hand, her face a mask of fury. She had hissed, even if I die today, I'll take you down with me. With a flick of her wrist, she had flung the lighter towards the curtains. Flames erupted, quickly engulfing the room. As exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, a familiar voice echoed in her ears. Suru, I'll get you out. Don't fall asleep. In that moment, she had vowed that if she were granted another life, she would reclaim everything that rightfully belonged to her. Everything Qin Suru had stolen. Snapped back to the present, the car pulled up to the Qin family home. Following the directions she'd been given, Kyo entered the dining room. The scene that greeted her was a tableau of domestic bliss. Her biological parents showering Qin Suru with affection. Suru dear, her mother urged, try this. I made it especially for you. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Qin Suru simpered. You're so good to me. Then, her gaze fell upon Kyo, standing silently in the doorway. Rising to her feet, Qin Suru approached Kyo, feigning politeness. Sister, you're back. I didn't see you come in. This saccharine display from Qin Suru, the imposter daughter of the Qin family, was met with a withering glance. Kyo ignored her, walking directly to the dining table, leaving Qin Suru momentarily speechless, forced to swallow her indignation. Recovering quickly, Qin Suru continued her performance for her adoptive parents. Sister, you must be starving. Come and eat. You should eat more. I'm sure you rarely get such delicious food where you're from. She began piling food onto Kyo's plate. Qin Hai, her adoptive father, chimed in. Yes, Sonny, it's not like back in the countryside. You'll need to adapt to life here quickly. As Qin Suru continued to heap food on her plate, Kyo, her disgust evident, pushed the overflowing bowl aside. Feigning hurt, Qin Suru whimpered, Sister, under the startled gazes of her adoptive parents. Kyo swept the bowl of food directly into the trash can. This food, she declared coldly, is dirty. Qin Hai, furious, slammed his hand on the table and roared at Kyo, Did your adoptive parents not teach you any manners? How dare you speak to your sister that way? Kyo, defiant, retorted to her nominal father. I'm someone without parents to teach me. So, naturally, my upbringing isn't good. Qin Hai, defeated, spat out, you. He stormed away from the dining table, not forgetting to shoot a chilling glare at Kyo before he left. Qin Suru, seizing the opportunity, put on an innocent, wronged expression and cried out, Dad. Mrs. Tan, having lost her appetite, also stood up, glaring at her biological daughter before instructing Qin Suru. Suru, your sister doesn't know her manners. Help your mother teach her. Yes, mother, Qin Suru replied sweetly. She approached Kyo, feigning affection. Sister, after you've finished eating, I'll take you shopping. Your clothes. She paused, her eyes scanning Kyo's outfit with disdain, then continued, It's all right. I'll help you with your makeup. Kyo, thoroughly disgusted by this charade, ripped away the mask. Qin Suru, now that Qin Hai and Lam Tuk Na aren't here, you don't need to pretend with me. Her voice was ice cold. Things that don't belong to you will never belong to you. Qin Suru, dropping the pretense, revealed her true colors. She sneered at Kyo. In their eyes, I'm the only daughter. I'm the only true heiress of the Qin family. You're nothing. Kyo, tired of the girl's prattling, picked up a glass of water from the table. In one swift motion, she splashed the water onto Qin Suru. This time, Kyoko declared, her voice brimming with power, I will take back everything that's mine. Whatever you've stolen, I will reclaim. With that, Kyo slammed the glass down. It shattered against the floor, the sound echoing sharply. As she passed Qin Suru, she added, her voice laced with chilling finality, Cherish what you have. It won't be yours for much longer. Qin Suru, feeling her position threatened, clenched her fists her eyes burning with resentment as she watched Kyo's retreating figure. Kyo, she muttered, I won't let you get what you want. Back in her room, Kyo sat down at her computer. She began to calculate. To establish her own company, she would need a substantial amount of capital. She realized a fundamental truth. The only way to acquire hundreds of millions in a short period was through stock investment. Meticulously, she began to piece together information from her past life. In her previous life, the Qin family's financial chain had broken. It was she who, through shrewd stock investments, had increased their wealth tenfold, saving the family from ruin. But that accomplishment had been stolen by Qin Suru. Grabbing a pen and paper, she outlined a plan. But not this time, she murmured. This time, I won't give her any opportunity. Stock investment required capital. After considering 4 options, she settled on the 4th. She would hack Qin Hai's accounts. Well then, she mused, a sly smile playing on her lips. Thank you for the gift, Qin family. Lost in her thoughts of financial conquest, she heard a noise nearby and glanced over. These are your clothes and toiletries. Madam told me to bring them. The servant tossed Kyo's belongings onto the sofa. Scoffing, the maid rubbed her shoulder dramatically. She really thinks she's a young miss, expecting to be waited on hand and foot the moment she arrives. Just a bastard child, really. Seeing the maid acting more important than her own mother, Qin Suru stood up and said coldly, Hold on. Stop. She paused for about 3 seconds. The maid, looking disdainful, crossed her arms and retorted with an annoyed tone. What is it, Miss Qin? I've finished my work. What more do you want? Do I have to kneel down and serve you? The maid was still acting haughty when Qin Suru's hand lashed out, leaving a stinging imprint of 5 fingers on her face. Who do you think you are to speak to your mistress like that? Even though I just came back from the countryside, I'm still a member of the Qin family. How can I let a lowly servant walk all over me? Kyo stepped closer to the terrified maid and threatened. Tell me, what do you think will happen if I tell Qin Hai about this? Will he side with his own daughter or with you? Think carefully. The maid, now understanding why the sea is salty, fearfully knelt down and clutched Qin Suru's leg, pleading, Miss, I don't want to lose my job. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Qin Suru, refusing to argue further, pointed and ordered, Get out of my sight. The maid, her body trembling, scurried out of the room. Qin Suru coldly tossed her belongings back into her backpack. Her face was expressionless. The next morning, Qin Hai, as usual, began lecturing Kyo. Suru has already gone to school. Sanni, you should also finish eating quickly and go to school. The countryside isn't like the big city. Your grades are already poor, so you need to work harder. Kyo felt her appetite vanish as her adoptive father droned on. Not wanting to hear another word, she made an excuse to leave. I'm full. Noticing her simple clothes, Qin Hai turned to his wife and asked, Didn't you prepare clothes for Sanni? I told the maid to bring them. Kyo glanced at her adoptive mother and replied curtly, Ugly. Mrs. Tan's face darkened, clearly displeased with her biological daughter. It seemed Kyo was indeed different from the obedient and understanding Suru. Mr. Qin took out a card and pushed it towards Kyo. Sanni, there's 2,000 in here. Since you don't like the clothes your mother gave you, go choose some outfits you like. He thought to himself that Kyo, having grown up in the countryside, would be touched by such a large sum of spending money. However, her next question rendered him speechless. Does Qin Suru also have 2,000 in spending money? Qin Hai stammered, Yes, 20,000. Kyo laughed derisively. I'm your real daughter, but I'm not even equal to your adopted daughter. Mrs. Tan, unhappy with the comparison, interjected, Kyo, how can you compare yourself to Suru? She has many friends and needs money to spend. You've never even seen 2,000 in your life, have you? Undeterred by her unloving parents, Kyo retorted, You can't say that. What if people find out how stingy you are to your own daughter? What will they think of you? It would be terrible if your reputation was affected, wouldn't it? Mr. Qin's face flushed with annoyance. Though displeased, he couldn't refuse Kyo's demand. That was my oversight, Sanni. From now on, your allowance will be the same as Suru's. Kyo fidgeted with the card in her hand, continuing to demand fairness. Equal, you say? Then the allowance I missed out on for the past 18 years should be equal to Suru's. Mrs. Tin couldn't bear to hear any more. Slamming her hand on the table, she stood up and shouted, Qin Kyo, Are you trying to take everything away from Suru? Kyo didn't think her request was unreasonable. She quickly retorted, if Chin Suru's mother hadn't mistakenly taken me, Suru would be the one living in the countryside. Everything she is doesn't belong to her. I'm just taking back what's rightfully mine, Dad. I don't think you'd treat your own daughter badly, would you? Mr. Chin, resigned, had a compromise. Of course not. I'll give you 20,000 now. The rest, I'll save as a dowry for you. Seeing that her demands were met, Kyo turned to leave. Thank you, Dad. I'm going to school now. As she walked, Kyo paused, her gaze fixed on a familiar house. I can't believe I accidentally came here, she murmured. Grandpa. A wave of emotion washed over her as she remembered her past life. They were the only ones who were truly good to me in this world. But in the end, I failed them. I didn't understand the precious love they gave me before I died. But thankfully, I have a second chance. Wait for me. Once I'm strong, I'll come find you. A luxurious car sped down the road, then braked abruptly. From within, a devastatingly handsome CEO stepped out. He seemed to be urgently searching for something. But before him, there was no one, only the rustling of leaves in the wind. The CEO pressed his hand to his forehead, wondering, who is that girl who keeps appearing in my dreams? This CEO was the heir to the Fu Corporation. His name was Fu Hanchuan. At the teacher's office door, Kyo was about to enter and register when she overheard a conversation inside. Teacher Liang, the Chin family donated a gymnasium to the school. They specifically requested that Chin Kyo be placed in Class 1. What do you think? I don't want some trash dragging down the class average and affecting my bonus. Can she even afford to compensate for that? Hearing this, Kyo pushed the door open. She looked at the people in the room and said, Teacher, I don't want to be in Class 1. She thought to herself, in my past life, I was in Class 1 under Chin Suru's manipulation. They constantly made things difficult for me. I don't want to waste my time on people like that. It'll interfere with my money-making plans. The teachers in the room were startled, realizing she had overheard their conversation. Moments later, she was assigned to Class 4. Chin Kyo, don't worry. Although Class 4 doesn't have the best track record, I'll do my best to guide you so that you can all get into university. Thank you, teacher. Kyo followed the teacher into the classroom. Everyone fell silent. This is Chin Kyo. She's transferring to our class today. Everyone, please be nice to our new classmate. The class erupted in whispers, their eyes assessing Kyo from their desks. All right, class, settle down. Kyo, come with me. I'll find you a seat. The teacher led her to a desk and then left. As Kyo sat scrolling through her phone, a boy with red hair approached and tapped on her desk. Hey, new girl. She looked up, her expression cool and aloof. What? The boy with red hair bristled at her attitude. Pretty arrogant for a newbie, aren't you? Kyo ignored him, engrossed in an online hacking challenge. Her online alias was QS. QS had just issued a challenge, $10,000 per match. Seeing Kyo's utter indifference, the red-haired youth gritted his teeth in frustration. New girl in Class 4, do you know what you should do? The red-haired youth seethed inwardly. Do I look that unthreatening? This girl isn't even looking at me. If she weren't a girl, I would have already hit her. Kyo stood up arrogantly, hands shoved into her pockets, the picture of a cool and collected leader. She responded with a curt, single word, yes. Red hair inwardly praised her. Oh, not bad. She understands the rules a little. She looked at the red-haired boy coldly, then issued her challenge. Let's have a little competition. You choose the subject, anything you want. Do you dare to compete with me? Don't blame me if you lose. As soon as she finished speaking, the entire class erupted in laughter. Some of the boys started chattering amongst themselves. Haha, Fong, I think I'm hearing things. She's challenging you. Ha! Another boy, trying to be helpful, chimed in. Chin Kyo, you're pretty, so let me give you a heads up. Fong is the king of this school. Think carefully. Don't come crying later. Red hair, stifling a laugh, pointed at her and said, Chin Kyo, I advise you not to provoke me. I'm a gentleman. I never hit girls. Seeing his hand reaching towards her, Kyo swiftly grabbed it. Her movements were quick and practiced, her grip surprisingly strong. If you want to talk, just talk. Don't get handsy. Kyo tightened her grip on Red Hair's hand and twisted it downwards, making him cry out in pain, his wrist feeling like it was about to shatter. He yelped, ah. The other boys witnessing this scene paled. Fong, are you all right? You talk too much. Kyo snapped, flinging his hand away. Red Hair stumbled, needing support to stay upright. Two other boys rushed to help him. Fong, are you okay? Fong, glaring at Kyo, issued a challenge. Noon, Shin Kyo. The basketball court. We'll meet there. If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know who's boss around here. Kyo nonchalantly dusted off her hands, accepting with an air of supreme confidence. Fine, I'll be waiting for you at the basketball court. Whoever doesn't show up is a dog. She thought to herself, these kids really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The girls in the classroom gazed at Kyo with adoration, their hearts practically overflowing. Whoa, she's so cool. She's my idol. A few moments later, the teacher arrived, rapping her ruler against the blackboard. Silence. Of all the classes, yours is the loudest. All right, everyone, look at the board for today's assignment. While the teacher was writing on the board, Kyo board pulled out her phone to play with it. Noticing this, the teacher frowned, assessing Kyo, another student who refuses to study properly, playing on her phone in class. With a sigh, the teacher tossed a piece of chalk onto Kyo's desk. Then, in a loud voice, she said, next, I'd like to invite Shin Kyo to the board to solve this problem. Kyo remained calm, picking up the chalk and walking towards the board with an air of composure. The teacher looked at the students in the class, her gaze a warning. This is the last question from the university entrance exam 5 years ago, the most difficult one. It's okay if you can't solve it. I'm letting this student who refuses to study properly solve it as a reminder to all of you. While she was speaking, Kyo was already rapidly filling in the answer on the board. The teacher turned around to look, only to see Kyo solving the problem with lightning speed. This surprised the teacher, who thought to herself, good heavens, she's writing so fast. This is university-level material. In less than 5 minutes, Kyo had solved the perplexing math problem. Teacher, I've finished, she announced. Teacher Liang glanced at the answer, utterly bewildered. The answer is completely correct, Kyo. Have you studied university-level material? This is advanced mathematics, not child's play. Kyo responded modestly. Yes, I've studied a bit. Teacher Liang, immediately showering her with praise, cautioned. This solution is perfect, Kyo. Next time, pay a little more attention. You must listen carefully during class. Kyo instantly captured the attention of the entire class. Everyone marveled inwardly. This new student wasn't just fast. She used university-level knowledge. This wasn't some struggling student. She was clearly a master. Fong, the red-haired boy, thought, so she's just a bookworm. We'll see what happens at noon. I'll teach her a lesson. At noon, on the school's basketball court, a crowd of students gathered, eager to witness the showdown between Fong and Kyo. Fong bounced the ball, arrogantly declaring, Kyo, just give up now. You'll only lose worse later. Let's talk, let's begin, Kyo retorted, her domineering attitude infuriating Fong. He fumed. I have to teach her a lesson. A male student acted as referee, placing the ball and blowing the whistle to signal the start. The moment the whistle blew, Fong lunged towards the ball, confident he had it in the bag. Just as he thought the ball was his, Kyo darted in, snatching it right from under his nose. Her speed was so astonishing that Fong couldn't comprehend what had just happened. With the ball secured, Kyo moved with effortless grace, dribbling towards the basket. After lining up her shot, Kyo, with a motion both elegant and effortless, sank the ball. 3 points, she declared, her voice brimming with confidence. Easy as pie. Watching the girl he'd underestimated, Fong seethed. 3 points? She doesn't even know what she's up against. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the ball swished through the net. A chorus of gasps and exclamations erupted. It went in. Did it really go in? Feng's jaw dropped. He stubbornly clung to the belief that Kyo had just gotten lucky. Kyo stood at center court, basking in the cheers of the crowd, both boys and girls. She looked like a goddess, radiant and captivating. She spun the ball effortlessly on one fingertip, a dazzling smile illuminating her face. Warm-up's over, she announced. Let's begin for real. No matter how aggressively Fong tried to close in, he couldn't steal the ball from her grasp. In just a few minutes, Kyo had taken a commanding lead, the score now 10-0. The 0, of course, belonged to Fong, who hadn't even touched the ball since the game began. Watching her expertly sink shot after shot, Fong was drenched in sweat on the verge of collapse. The final whistle blew. Kyo stood triumphant, having completely dominated the game with a final score of 18-0. While the crowd roared their approval, a defeated Feng slumped to the ground, drenched in more sweat than if he'd taken a shower. He looked at Kyo with a mixture of fear and awe. Suddenly, he blurted out, "Dad." Catching her glare, he quickly grabbed a bottle of water and rushed over, fawning, Sister Green, from now on, I, Lin Feng, will acknowledge you as my boss. Your followers are my followers." She accepted the water bottle without hesitation, draining it in one long gulp. "I'm not taking your place. Not interested." The red-haired boy, now thoroughly subdued, practically wagged his tail as he massaged her back. "So, Sister Green, what do you want me to do?" "I absolutely won't disobey. Just tell me, and I'll do it right away." Kyo tossed the empty bottle back to him. Before walking away, she casually dropped, "Later. I'm leaving now." Outside the gates of Kyo's school, Fu Hanchuan sat in his car, reviewing her file. "Kyo," he murmured, a small smile playing on his lips. "I've finally found you." He sighed, a mixture of relief and anticipation swirling within him. "So, the girl who appeared in my dreams wasn't a figment of my imagination. The girl I love truly exists." Glancing out the car window, he spotted Kyo leaving school, her figure causing his heart to pound in his chest. He quickly looked down, smoothing his clothes and ensuring he looked presentable. Once satisfied, Fu Hanchuan opened the car door and stepped out, his hand clenching nervously as he calmly called out, "Kyo." Hearing her name, Kyo turned, her eyes widening in surprise as she recognized him. "Mr. Fu, why is he here?" she thought, bewildered. "He shouldn't know me yet. How can he call my name like that?" Fu Hanchuan, noticing her tense expression, immediately realized his mistake. "I forgot," he thought. To her, "I'm just a stranger. I can't be too hasty." He approached her, searching for a plausible explanation. "My grandfather was ill a while ago," he began. "Thanks to you, he's all right now. He wants to thank you for saving his life." He pulled out a photograph and showed it to her. Looking at the picture, Kyo gasped, "Grandpa Lu." "Yes," Fu Hanchuan confirmed. "So, could you come with me to see him?" She hesitated for a moment, the fondness she felt for the old man winning out. "All right," she agreed. "Let's go. I can finally see them again." A short while later, Fu Hanchuan led her to the Lu family's old house. Grandpa Lu's face lit up with joy upon seeing her. Kyo, I missed you so much. I've missed you to the point of going crazy." He then proceeded to scold his grandson. "It's all because of this boy. He kept me in the hospital, saying he needed to find you. It took him so long." The old man, Lu Zhonghua, Fu Hanchuan's grandfather, took her hand affectionately. Kyo, how old are you now?" Kyo politely replied, "I'll be 18 in 2 months." Grandpa Lu beamed. "Perfect. Kyo, this is my grandson. He's 5 years older than you." He then launched into a litany of praise for Fu Hanchuan. "He's accomplished, capable, handsome, a great cook, gentle, considerate, and he's never been in a relationship. You'll be very happy as his wife, Kyo." She glanced at Fu Hanchuan and replied, "Yes, he's truly outstanding. He has no flaws." Hearing her praise, Fu Hanchuan froze, his body stiff with nervous anticipation. He felt like he couldn't even breathe. The old man pressed on. "So, Kyo, what do you think of him? Do you, or don't you?" He was deeply concerned for his grandson, who, despite his many virtues, seemed utterly clueless when it came to matters of the heart. Seeing Kyo's flustered silence, Fu Hanchuan quickly interjected, partly to rescue her, and partly out of fear of rejection. "All right, Grandpa," he said, "the food's getting cold. Let's let Kyo eat." "She's too thin," Grandpa Lu mused. "We'll have to nourish her better." With that thought, he diligently piled delicacies onto Kyo's plate. Noticing this, the old man stroked his beard and teased, "Ah, my grandson has a wife now, and he's already starting to neglect his old grandpa. Truly, when grandchildren grow up, they forget all about their elders." Kyo laughed brightly, and then placed some food on her grandfather's plate. "Here, Grandpa, eat with me." The meal concluded amidst cheerful laughter. "Grandpa, it's getting late," Fu Hanchuan said. "I'll take Kyo home." Afterwards, she and Fu Hanchuan headed towards the Qin family home. As they neared the house, he yawned slightly and asked, Kyo, do you have a phone?" She pulled out her phone. "Yes, why?" Fu Hanchuan, looking pleased, presented a QR code. "Good, then say my number." He ruffled her hair affectionately. Then, If anything comes up, call me. I'll always be here. Thank you, Brother Fu, she replied gratefully. Before entering the house, she turned back and waved goodbye. Fu Hanchuan remained, watching her retreating figure. After Kyo rang the doorbell. Her mother opened the door, her face etched with displeasure. Where have you been gallivanting so late? What will people think? Why do I have such a disobedient child like you? Fu Hanchuan watched, his face darkening. Qin Hailin, Shuna, he thought, it seems your lives are too comfortable. You need a little upheaval to bring you back down to earth, don't you? If this family can't give her the love she deserves, then I will. I will definitely cherish her like a princess. Kyo had just stepped inside when she saw her father, Mr. Qin, sitting on the sofa reading the newspaper. Seeing her late arrival, his displeasure was evident. A daughter coming home this late? What kind of impression does that make? Sanni, you should learn from your sister and be more obedient. That's what a proper Qin daughter should be like. Then, he added, as if searching for an excuse, "Oh, right. I've been very busy lately and haven't organized a welcome home party for you. I'm sure you don't mind, do you?" Her footsteps faltered on the stairs. She replied coldly, "Whatever." Her heart felt as cold as it had in her past life. No matter how much I tried to please them in my previous life, they never truly saw me as their daughter. This familial affection, it might as well not exist. As she climbed the stairs, she resolved, in this life, I won't bother with these pretenses. I'd rather focus on making money. After checking the hacker website, she discovered that the post she'd made that morning had sunk without a trace. My challenge was too subtle. That's why no one noticed. She snorted. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, typing out a provocative message. I've looked over your accomplishments, and in short, they're pathetic. You're all unskilled. I honestly don't understand how any of you became renowned hackers. It seems the famed hack emperor is all talk. She then boldly tagged everyone. If any of you have the guts, challenge me. Unless, of course, you're all cowards, afraid of being beaten by a newbie like me. The message she just sent was like a bomb detonating in the forum. Her inbox exploded with notifications. Countless challenge requests from hackers around the world flooded in. A satisfied smirk played on her lips. Finally, she thought, my money-making scheme is in motion. Unhurriedly, she accepted each challenge one by one. Across the hacker forum, countless comments filled the homepage. This kid is so arrogant. Does he think there's no one else in the hacker world? In all these years, this is the first time a newbie has dared to challenge the established hackers. He's truly clueless. Looking at his progress bar, he hasn't even broken through a single line of defense. I'm curious to see how he plans to challenge us. Qin Kyo scanned through the list of usernames, one by one, then sighed, a low whistle escaping her lips. None of them were a match. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, a blur of motion as she relentlessly hammered at the opponent's firewall. Notification chimes rang out in rapid succession. QS had defeated Little H for CK3R. QS had defeated K1 Ta. QS had defeated Kuriko. QS had defeated N00B, and so on and so forth. She blazed through 8 opponents in under a minute, effortlessly climbing to the top 8 of the server. It had been a while since Qin Kyo had felt this rush, this exhilarating burn of pure skill. A satisfied smile played on her lips. After a moment, she stretched, basking in the glow of her victory. Hee 3 million already. I think that's enough for tonight. The scene shifted to a young man, also a hacker, who had just been unceremoniously knocked out of the top 8 by Qin Kyo. Oh, come on. My new record, barely set, and already broken. The disgruntled voice belonged to Lu Ming, a top-ranked hacker and the younger brother of Fu Hanchuan. Lu Ming's inbox exploded with messages from acquaintances. Great God, your record's been smashed. Aren't you going to do anything about it? Universe's #1 handsome. Dude, your house is on fire. Don't tell me you're scared to challenge them. Lu Ming, on his end, was still unaware of QS's gender. If he knew the hacker who just dethroned him was a girl, who knew what his reaction would be. Don't worry, he muttered. I'll make that punk get down on their knees and call me daddy. Lu Ming set out to find Qin Kyo and engage her in battle. Universe's #1 handsome sent a challenge to QS. I propose we change the rules. Let's move the battlefield to the real world. Do you dare? You choose the battlefield. QS replied, fine. Long Phi Corporation, 3 million as the wager. If I win, Lu Ming, brimming with confidence, quickly agreed. Okay, let's start right now. Make it snappy. And so, the two plunged into a virtual clash, neither willing to give an inch. But it wasn't long before a cascade of red alerts flashed across Lu Ming's screen. Just like that, in a matter of moments, Lu Ming was utterly defeated, leaving him practically in tears. Qin Kio, meanwhile, was filled with the sweet satisfaction of victory. Hee, what a successful night. 6 million added to the account. The incident sent ripples through the hacker community. Universe's #1 handsome, ranked 8th globally, lost? No way. Qin Kio's mind raced, already plotting her next money-making scheme. Sipping her cola, she strategized. In my past life, Longfi Corporation used all sorts of dirty tricks to sabotage Fu Hanchuan's company. Might as well advertise my repair system. This money is mine for the taking. Back with Lu Ming, he lay sprawled dejectedly on the sofa, lamenting his lost fortune. My 120 million, gone. Unwilling to accept defeat, Lu Ming sat up, muttering, I'm not giving up. I have to tell my brother. He grabbed his phone and called Fu Hanchuan. Brother, look, your adorable little brother is being bullied. You're the head of Black Emperor. Help me teach that guy a lesson. Fu Hanchuan picked up his phone and saw the nickname of the opponent who had just defeated his brother, QS. He paused, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. QS? Could it be? Fu Hanchuan had a suspicion. Could QS be Qin Kio? Of course, between his beloved wife and his brother, he would side with his wife. He handed the phone back to Lu Ming. Deal with your own problems. Wah, brother, how can you be so heartless? Despite his words, Fu Hanchuan couldn't shake his suspicion. Qin Kio is so obedient. She couldn't be QS, could she? I wonder if she's asleep yet. Speak of the devil. A message from Fu Hanchuan popped up on Lu Ming's phone. Brother Fu, are you free tomorrow? Could you use your ID to help me get a bank card? A mischievous glint sparked in Lu Ming's eyes as he lazily teased. Whoa, so I have a sister-in-law now? No wonder you don't pay attention to me anymore. Fu Hanchuan, unamused by the teasing, promptly kicked his younger brother out the door. Get lost. On the other side of the city, Qin Kio received Fu Hanchuan's reply. I'm free all day tomorrow. A satisfied smile spread across Qin Kio's face. Brother Fu is always on my side. Excellent. The next day, at their agreed-upon meeting place in a cafe, Fu Hanchuan heard approaching footsteps and turned to see if it was Qin Kio. Qin Kio, dressed in a sweet dress, waved and greeted him. Brother Fu, I didn't expect you to be here so early. Fu Hanchuan, suppressing a flicker of emotion, replied, No, I just arrived myself. He took out a black card and slid towards her. Here's the bank card you need. She accepted it with a cheerful thank you. Thank you, Brother Fu. You're so kind. She thought to herself, this way, Qin Hailin won't discover my money. Before I leave the Qin family, I have to hide my true capabilities. Seeming to understand why she needed to use his name for the bank card, Fu Hanchuan asked with concern, Kio, do you want to continue staying at the Qin family home? If you want to leave, I can help you. His words touched her deeply. In my past life, he asked me this so many times. It's a pity I was too foolish to recognize genuine concern from pretense. She answered him seriously. I will find a way to separate myself from the Qin family. He gently patted her head, offering comfort. Kio, my grandfather and I will always treat you well. She smiled happily, basking in the feeling of being protected. I know. This scene was accidentally witnessed by Qin Sornhu, who happened to be passing by. Qin Kio, she's with a man again? As her gaze focused on Fu Hanchuan's features, she couldn't help but marvel at his handsomeness. A high nose, a sharp jawline. How could a man be so handsome? She bit her lip, unable to contain her envy. I've never seen such a handsome man. How can someone like him belong to Qin Kio? Fu Hanchuan, ever attentive to his future wife, gallantly peeled a shrimp and placed it on Qin Kio's plate. Kio, have some shrimp. Thank you, Brother Fu, she replied. Seeing their affectionate interaction, Qin Sorna marched over, intent on disrupting them. Feigning friendliness, she asked Qin Kio, what a coincidence. What are you doing here? I wanted to ask you to go shopping with me. Why are you ignoring me? Blushing, she turned to Fu Hanchuan. Is this your friend? Aren't you going to introduce him to me? Across the table, Fu Hanchuan frowned at the interruption, his expression darkening. Qin Kio coldly dismissed her. What does this have to do with you? Our relationship isn't good. Why are you acting so familiar with me? Stung by the public rebuke, Qin Sornhu seethed inwardly. How dare she insult me in public like this? Putting on a pitiful expression, Chin Sornhu feigned remorse. Sister, I know I've monopolized Mom and Dad's attention for over 15 years. You must resent me, but it wasn't my intention. With crocodile tears welling up, she continued, if you're unhappy, I can move out. As long as you forgive me, I'm willing to do anything. Chin Kyo's face flushed with anger at the blatant manipulation. Seeing this, Chin Sornhu, brimming with smugness, feigned a pitiful air while thinking. The angrier and more aggressive Chin Kyo acts, the clearer her true colors will be revealed to him. Then, this man will sympathize with me and fall at my feet. Haha. Fu Hanchuan, however, indifferently doused her with a bucket of cold water. If you're so concerned about Kyo's feelings, then you should leave the Chin family home. Chin Sornhu was stunned by the man's cold demeanor. Don't all men like vulnerable women? She thought. Seeing his wife's unhappiness, Fu Hanchuan stood up and suggested, Kyo, it's getting late. Let me take you home. Before leaving, Chin Kyo didn't forget to taunt Chin Sornhu. Chin Sornhu, do you enjoy acting so much? Aren't you tired of wearing a mask? Chin Sornhu, refusing to give up, continued her performance. Sister, do you have some misunderstanding about me? Chin Kyo coldly turned slightly. Cut the act. Stop pretending. I've already said, what doesn't belong to you will never belong to you. Chin Sornhu seethed but could do nothing, left to stew in her frustration. Chin Kyo, what right do you have to laugh at me? She puzzled over Fu Hanchuan's attitude. Does that perfect man have a problem with me too? Right, it must be because Chin Kyo badmouthed me to him. Chin Kyo, just you wait. After arriving home, Chin Kyo checked her phone balance. Your account ending in 8888 has received 800,000. Your current balance is 6,800,000. Not bad, she thought. Several companies ordered the protection system. Made a small fortune this time. As Chin Kyo descended the stairs, she felt a stifling atmosphere. Disapproving gazes were directed at her. Looks like Chin Sornhu has stirred up trouble for me again, she thought. Sure enough, before she could even sit down, her father, Mr. Chin, interrogated her. I heard you were acting intimately with a man. Is that true? Chin Kyo replied curtly, he's a friend. Chin Sornhu put on an innocent expression and feigned a question. Father, would ordinary friends peel shrimp for each other and pat each other's heads? Chin Hailin, Chin Kyo's mother, looked appraisingly at Chin Kyo sitting opposite her. Her purpose in bringing Chin Kyo back was to arrange a marriage that would benefit the company. If she was involved with another man, her value would decrease. As if the drama wasn't enough, Chin Sornhu put on a fake, concerned face. Mom and Dad, I didn't mean any harm. I was just worried that sister would be deceived and hurt by a man. Mrs. Chin immediately and blindly defended her favored daughter. Sornhu, some people won't appreciate it no matter how much you care for them. You're our daughter, so you don't need to force yourself to worry about those ungrateful wretches. Ignoring everyone, Chin Kyo calmly continued eating. Seeing this, Mr. Chin angrily scolded her. How old are you? You've barely returned home, and you're already thinking about flirting with men. You're only in your 3rd year of high school. Your most important task right now is studying. Do you understand? If you don't break up with that man, don't even think about stepping foot in the Chin house again. Wiping her mouth with a napkin, she responded indifferently. Oh, really? I'm rather looking forward to that. Before leaving the dining table, she couldn't resist one last jab. But Chairman Chin, remember to transfer my household registration out of the Chin family first. And a declaration severing ties, too. Mr. Chin, furious and about to yell more, was stopped by his wife, who urged him to calm down. Honestly, ever since she came back, we haven't had a single day of peace. Chin Sornhu, having achieved her goal, smirked inwardly. Haha, yes, keep hating Chin Kyo, then I'll be their best daughter. Back in her room, Chin Kyo felt this familial affection should have ended long ago. In her past life, she had constantly helped the Chin family with their business. Her own career perpetually delayed because of it. She remembered how she'd initially wanted to develop an immersive game, but the Chin family's demands had kept it from fruition. This time around, she was determined to fulfill the aspirations of her past life. C, the head hacker of Black Emperor, would be a tremendous asset if she could recruit him. She wasn't sure she could beat C but she had to try. With a surge of excitement, she attempted to access C's system, Fu Hanchuan's system. On Fu Hanchuan's end, red alerts flashed across his computer screen. He frowned, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. QS, he murmured, quickly typing a message to his opponent. QS, I wonder what brings you to my network. Far from panicking at being discovered, Chin Kyo felt a thrill of competitive spirit. This is the first time in 2 lifetimes someone's detected my intrusion. C truly lives up to his reputation, she thought, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she extended an invitation. I'm starting a company. Interested in joining? The reply was swift and succinct. Not interested. The curt rejection stung. Okay, sorry to bother you, she typed, a touch of disappointment creeping in. C truly is a formidable opponent. Looks like I'll have to make him submit. Expecting him to agree to a simple invitation was naive. Meanwhile, Chin Sornhu was locked in a virtual battle with a hacker, say. This opponent seemed particularly challenging, trapping Chin Sornhu in a digital cage. You can't escape, hacker say taunted. Despite the difficulty, Chin Sornhu felt a surge of excitement. This is interesting. The first time anyone's managed to trap me. Error messages flashed across her screen. C's hacking skills were undeniably impressive, living up to the whispers of his prowess. On the other side of the digital battlefield, Fu Hanchuan observed her struggles, casually taking a sip of water. He raised an eyebrow, a hint of amusement in his expression. His own computer displayed a cascade of urgent notifications. His demeanor shifted, his focus sharpening as he engaged with his unseen opponent. Both hackers poured their energy into the virtual duel, the tension crackling between them. Chin Sornhu pressed her attack relentlessly, while Fu Hanchuan maintained a steady defense, the battle hanging in a delicate balance. In a final, desperate push, Chin Sornhu unleashed everything she had, breaking free from Fu Hanchuan's digital restraints. A triumphant grin spread across her face. You're good, she typed, but you can't hold me forever. Fu Hanchuan, facing his own challenges, acknowledged her skill. A worthy opponent, he mused, running a hand through his hair, intrigue flickering in his eyes. Are QS and Chin Kyo truly unrelated? Regardless, she's still a step behind C. He's a tough nut to crack. Time to find someone else. Time to meet him. Long Phi Corporation. Chin Kyo took out a notebook and crossed out the letter C. In its place, she wrote Phi Veen. This, it seemed, was her plan B. The scene shifted to the gates of the Phi Veen Technology Company. The doors were sealed, a notice of closure posted prominently. A crowd milled around, murmuring amongst themselves. Among them, a man stood apart, his posture slumped with despair. Hong Veen couldn't believe it had come to this. Bankruptcy. He, the CEO of Phi Veen Technology, was ruined. From a distance, another man watched, a cruel smile twisting his lips. Du Kai Fong, have you proven worthy of my trust? Hong Veen spat, his voice thick with anger. Unfazed, the other man retorted, you left the company in my hands, didn't you? And haven't I managed it well? I owe everything I have to you, CEO Hong. You've been a true benefactor. His face radiated smug triumph as he sneered, revealing himself to be Du Kai Fong, the CEO of Lam Viet Technology. Hong Veen, unable to contain his fury, lunged at Du Kai Fong, grabbing his shirt. Du Kai Fong, you treacherous snake. You embezzled company funds and drove me to ruin. Du Kai Fong remained unmoved. Go ahead, hit me, he taunted. Whether you want to sue me or see me in jail, I can accommodate you. Hong Veen crumpled to the ground, utterly defeated. His wife had just passed away. He couldn't let his son lose his father too. Du Kai Fong, savoring his victory, looked down at him. Hong Veen, hesai tiatik sol. Accept reality. As long as I'm here, you'll never have a chance to turn things around. Hong Veen buried his face in his hands, sobbing uncontrollably. His wife was gone, his company was in ruins, and any hope of recovery seemed impossible. Suddenly, a hand appeared, offering him a tissue. He looked up in surprise. It was Chin Sornhu. She knelt beside him and spoke softly. Hello, Mr. Hong. What do you want? He asked, bewildered that anyone would offer him comfort in this moment. I can help you with your company, she offered. Let's talk. She led him to a nearby cafe. There, she slid a document across the table. I'm Chin Sornhu. Take a look at my proposal. You wrote this? He asked, skepticism lacing his voice. He picked up the document and began to read, his eyes widening with each passing line. To think I'd have to pin my hopes on a young woman like you, he thought to himself. Perhaps I'm being foolish. He stared at the document, lost in thought. A comprehensive, intellectual game. How can anyone create such a thing? It's just a pipe dream. After a moment of hesitation, he opened the document and began to read in earnest. This is, he murmured, flipping through the pages, a comprehensive intellectual game. Did you develop this plan yourself? The technical aspects too? He asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Yes, Chin Sornhu replied calmly, meeting his gaze without flinching. She sat serenely, seemingly unperturbed by his scrutiny. He then asked her, Miss Chin, if I may ask, how old are you? Chin Sornhu maintained her composure, looking directly into his eyes as she replied, almost 18. I possess the core technology to develop a comprehensive intellectual game. She spoke with unwavering certainty, then added, I wonder, Mr. Hong, if you would be interested in joining my company? But her thoughts drifted to her past life. Around this time, in her previous life, Hong Veen had 2 game patents stolen, leading to his bankruptcy. Yet a few years later, he'd risen to the top of the video game industry. This time, I will help you take it a step further, she declared. I'm preparing to establish a game company and need your assistance as the company manager. What do you say? Chin Sornhu presented her enticing offer. Hong Veen hesitated, fear evident in his voice. Miss Chin, Du Kai Fong won't let me be. If he finds out I'm working for your company, he'll make things difficult for you. He paused, then continued. You should find someone else. I don't want to implicate you. Seemingly unfazed, Chin Sornhu, having already anticipated this concern, calmly reassured him, he won't bother me. I value your talent. A flicker of warmth and relief crossed Hong Veen's face. Upon hearing his response, Chin Sornhu produced a contract. I'm not yet 18, so the company will be temporarily registered under your name. The company's operations will be entrusted to you. I will then transfer the capital to your account. Hong Veen took the contract from Chin Sornhu's hand and immediately signed it. The two stood, and before parting ways, shook hands. Happy cooperation, they said in unison. Happy cooperation, Chairman. Chin Sornhu then headed to the stock exchange. The few hundred million she'd earned from hacking was a mere drop in the ocean compared to what she needed for game development. A small smile played on her lips. But I still need more capital, she mused. The scene at the stock exchange was chaotic. Investors anxiously watched the fluctuating stock prices, murmuring amongst themselves. It's plummeting as soon as the market opens. Is this stock even viable? I thought I'd make a killing. Now look, all my capital is tied up. Despite the pandemonium caused by the volatile stock prices, Chin Sornhu remained calmly seated. The other investors, observing her composure, whispered, we're buying the same stock, yet this young girl is so calm, while we're in a frenzy. Now we want to sell, but no one's buying. We can only watch it plummet. Suddenly, someone shouted, things are looking up. The stock is starting to stabilize. As if waiting for this precise moment, Chin Sornhu rose and approached the trading counter. At the computer terminal, she entered her desired investment amount, 250 million. Without hesitation, she pressed the buy button. A man approached her, offering unsolicited advice. 250 million, young lady. This stock isn't worth buying right now. The company just had an incident. It might go bankrupt in a few days, and you'll lose all your money. Unperturbed, Chin Sornhu maintained her composure and continued her work. She then proceeded to buy another 500 million, pressing the buy button without a flicker of doubt. At this moment, the man beside Chin Sornhu was truly panicked. He trembled, muttering, young lady, don't do it. Where did this girl come from, investing so much money? He questioned himself internally. The surrounding crowd began to notice Chin Sornhu, their whispers turning her into the center of attention. This girl is truly reckless, throwing her family's money away without a care, someone remarked. She must be some rich heiress, unconcerned with a mere 100 million. Another chimed in, right, buying shares of a company on the verge of bankruptcy? She can't be ordinary. The crowd pressed closer, their anxieties and curiosity palpable. In response to their worried queries, Chin Sornhu offered a simple, unwavering reply. This stock will rise. A stunned silence fell over the onlookers. Isn't she afraid of getting burned? One whispered. She might have money to lose, but we're all ordinary people. We can't afford such risks. The crowd began to disperse. Let's go, let's go. Only a fool or someone with money to burn would buy this stock. We should wait to sell, not risk losing everything. Unlike the others, the man who had been standing next to Chin Sornhu earlier was now filled with a mixture of excitement and bewilderment. He approached her and asked, young lady, how do you know this stock will rise? Chin Sornhu turned to him, a cryptic smile playing on her lips. Intuition, she replied simply. The man fell silent, scratching his head. He'd never encountered someone who played the stock market, based on intuition. Suddenly, a shout erupted from the crowd. Heavens, someone just bought 1 billion shares of this stock. The man beside Chin Sornhu whirled around in astonishment, but Chin Sornhu remained serene, walking with an unperturbed air. She thought to herself, this isn't just gambling. This is my first investment. The scene shifted to Fu Hanchuan's office. An assistant entered, Assistant Lin, Fu Hanchuan's trusted confidant. Fu Hanchuan looked up and asked, Li Long, is that matter taken care of? As you instructed, sir. I've purchased 1 billion shares, Assistant Lin replied. However, he couldn't help but express his confusion. But sir, isn't 5Veen Technology about to go bankrupt? Why would you buy their stock? Fu Hanchuan paused his work to explain. Gonjoling 5Veen. While the company is facing difficulties, their technology and patents are strong. We now own 35% of 5Veen, making us the largest shareholder. Those billion shares are for arbitrage. Assistant Lin nodded, taking the file from Fu Hanchuan. Understood, sir. I'll make the necessary arrangements. Our CEO is truly shrewd. A single move, and he's earned tens of billions. He truly is the #1 investor in the financial world. Sometime later, Chin Sornhu returned home. Passing through the living room, she saw her family watching television. The evening news was broadcasting a live feed of a stock signing ceremony. The sound of the television drew her attention. A joyous collaboration. Hongdan Group is partnering with Duok Group. We will provide capital and technical personnel to 5Veen Technology. We hope 5Veen will experience strong growth in the future. Chin Hai, her father, spoke up. Who would have thought 5Veen stock would increase 18-fold in just 3 days? I regret selling mine. Chin Sornhu smiled faintly at her father. As expected, Chin Kyo noticed Chin Sornhu. Feigning concern, she asked, Sister, are you interested in stock investment too? It's not something just anyone can do. Once again, Chin Sornhu ignored her. Uninterested in engaging with her family, she headed upstairs to her room. Chin Hai, observing Chin Sornhu's treatment at the hands of Tong Technology, scoffed. How uncouth. He was already formulating a plan. The stock had taken a significant hit, and it was time to bring Chin Sornhu's marriage prospects back to the forefront. Returning to her room, Chin Sornhu sat down, a smile playing on her lips as she looked at her account balance. She was a billionaire now. 3 days, from 1 million to 2 billion. Not bad. A self-made billionaire. The thought made her chuckle with amusement. Early morning at Hei Shi High School. Is that her? Chin Sornhu walked down the school hallway, heading to class, the whispers and murmurs of the other students swirling around her. Yeah, she's pretty, but who knew she was so loose? I heard she's being kept by some old man. A few days ago, someone said she was prettier than you. I don't think she's even fit to carry your shoes. The speaker was one of Chin Kyo's friends. Chin Kyo feigned innocence. Don't say that. She's quite beautiful. She just made a wrong turn this time. Such a pity. Listening to the gossip swirling around Chin Sornhu, a cruel smile twisted Chin Kyo's lips. I'm not lying. The man really is much older than her. Meanwhile, in the classroom, Chin Sornhu's deskmate, having overheard the unpleasant whispers about Chin Sornhu, bristled with anger. Shin, are you okay? Don't listen to their gossip. My Shin is beautiful enough to snag a wealthy young heir. She continued, her voice laced with indignation. Why would she need some old man? Chin Sornhu, amused by her friend's fierce loyalty, playfully pinched her cheek. So, you're saying I've been taken care of by a rich young master? Her friend started to protest. No, I just meant that you definitely haven't been kept. I was just giving an example. Just then, Fengge turned around and addressed Chin Sornhu. I believe you, Sister Chin Sornhu. I saw those 2 guys insulting you earlier. I already taught them a lesson. His posse chimed in. Chin Sornhu, we all believe in you. You're strong and independent. You'd never be kept by an old man. Touched by their attempts to comfort her, Chin Sornhu smiled warmly. Thank you, everyone. To have classmates, to have friends, so this is what it feels like. She laughed, genuinely happy. At the Chin family villa, Chin Hai berated Chin Sornhu. Chin Sornhu, get over here. The principal called me. You have to break up with that man. A 12th grade student being kept. What does that look like? Chin Sornhu responded to his tirade with indifference. After he finished, she turned to him. Are you certain I did that? Chin Hai remained adamant. If you didn't do it, why are there these rumors? Chin Sornhu simply smiled faintly. Yes, you're right. You've never believed me. With that, she turned and walked upstairs, leaving him with a final statement. If that's the case, from now on, interfere less in my affairs. Chin Hai, furious furious, pointed after her. How could I have a daughter like you? The scene shifted to Xian restaurant. Lu Xian was working when his younger brother, Lu Ming, approached him. Brother, let me borrow your high-spec computer. Lu Xian flatly refused. No way. Lu Ming's attention was then drawn to his brother's phone. Qin Sornhu's image was displayed on the screen. He asked, curious, Brother, do you know that girl? A lot of people at school are saying she's being kept by an old man. But then Lu Ming added another sentence, but she really is beautiful. A shiver ran down Lu Xian's spine. He glanced at his brother, catching the glint of a murderous look in his eyes. Suddenly, it dawned on Lu Ming. He'd been a fool. Anyone who could be his brother's phone background had to be someone Lu Xian liked. This was undoubtedly his future sister-in-law. He quickly reassured Lu Xian, Don't worry, brother. There's no real proof, just rumors. Sister-in-law is gorgeous. Beautiful people are always envied. Lu Xian sighed after hearing this. Yeah. If anything happens to Sornhu at school, tell me immediately. He stared at the picture on his phone, his finger unconsciously tracing her face. Then, he promised Lu Ming, take good care of Sornhu, and that computer is yours. Bribed so easily, Lu Ming turned away cheerfully. No problem. Future sister-in-law is my new best friend, he thought gleefully. After getting rid of his troublesome younger brother, Lu Xian pulled out his phone and called Assistant Lin. Sornhu fainted at school. Help me investigate. Assistant Lin immediately obeyed, taking the order to investigate. CEO Lu, there are signs pointing to Qin Sornhu, but she's very discreet. I haven't found any concrete evidence yet. Hearing the name Qin Sornhu, Fu Hanchuan's brow furrowed. Qin Sornhu, the Qin family. Isn't that the land? Buy that land. The price is negligible. Yes, Assistant Lin replied. At the Qin family home, Qin Hai had just received bad news. He paced back and forth, furious. Chairman Fuang, didn't we agree that land belonged to us? On the other end of the line, Chairman Fuang replied, No contract signed means no sale. I wouldn't dare offend HD Corporation. You can negotiate with them yourself. With that, Chairman Fuang hung up. Qin Hai was consumed with anxiety and anger after the rejection. It's over. No one dares to cross HD Corporation in H City. But that land is crucial for Qin Corp's development. I still have to try negotiating. At Hai Duan Corporation, Qin Hai walked in. He handed his card to the receptionist. Hello, may I meet with your CEO? The receptionist replied, One moment, please. I'll make a call. Qin Hai eagerly agreed. After making the call and receiving approval, the receptionist told him, Please wait in the reception area. The CEO will be down shortly. Yes, Qin Hai replied. Qin Hai thought to himself, It's not easy to get a meeting with CEO Fu. I can't believe he agreed. 5 hours passed. Despite the wait, Qin Hai remained, patiently waiting for the CEO. Finally, he began to lose his patience. It's been 5 hours. Why hasn't he come down yet? Just then, Assistant Lin approached. Qin Hai recognized him and thought, Assistant Lin, it seems I'll finally get to meet the CEO. He approached Assistant Lin and extended his hand in greeting. Hello, Assistant Lin. Contrary to his expectations, Assistant Lin retracted his hand and said coldly, Hello. Assistant Lin's action made Qin Hai feel snubbed. He withdrew his hand. Are you going to take me to see your CEO? Assistant Lin shook his head. The CEO is very busy. He's arranged for me to meet with you. Tell me what you need. Qin Hai pleaded, the land in the north of the city. Qin Corp desperately needs it. Please, could you sell it to us? Name your price. At that moment, Assistant Lin addressed Qin Hai directly. Chairman Qin, I won't beat around the bush. The reason you're being denied this land is that your daughter has offended our CEO. You won't be getting this plot. Qin Hai's face paled upon hearing Assistant Lin's blunt response. What? Qin's son offended the CEO? After hearing Assistant Lin's words, Qin Hai forced a nervous laugh. Qin's son wouldn't do anything like that. Perhaps I could bring her to apologize to you. Assistant Lin's expression remained stern. Did I say it was Qin's son? Realizing the implication in Assistant Lin's words, Qin Hai stammered. You mean Sornhu? How could that be? He couldn't fathom it. Sornhu always seemed so well-behaved in public. How could she have possibly offended such an important person? Back at the Qin family villa, Qin Hai sat lost in thought. Hai Duan Corporation snatched a piece of land from me, claiming my daughter offended the CEO of HD Corporation. Qin Kyo, Sornhu's sister, seized the opportunity to sow discord. Father, she said, feigning concern, sister only hangs out with the worst students at school. Maybe she accidentally offended someone important? Despite Qin Kyo's insinuation, Qin Sornhu remained calm, seemingly unfazed, and continued eating her meal. Chin Hai turned to Chin Sornhu. Sornhu, his assistant said you offended the CEO. Think carefully. Have you done anything recently? Chin Sornhu's face drained of color. What? Father, I haven't. Lin Shuna, Sornhu's stepmother, immediately jumped to her defense. Chin Hai, what are you implying? It definitely wasn't Sornhu. She then rounded on Chin Sornhu accusingly. Chin Sornhu, was it you? Are you trying to blame Sornhu? Chin Sornhu stopped eating and looked at her stepmother. Chin Hai already said it was Chin Sornhu. Why don't you believe him? A smirk played on her lips. She's your daughter. Am I not your daughter too? Your favoritism is a bit much, don't you think? Lin Shuna avoided Chin Sornhu's gaze. Chin Sornhu then spoke, feigning innocence. Father, I truly haven't offended anyone. There must be some misunderstanding. But beneath the facade, a storm of anxiety and anger brewed within her. Recently, there have been rumors about Chin Sornhu being kept by an older man. She trailed off. It's impossible, though. Chin Sornhu just arrived from the countryside. How could she know someone so powerful? Seeing Chin Sornhu's fear, Chin Hai attempted to reassure her. It's all right, Sornhu. Just be more careful in the future. Yes, father. I'm sorry, she replied, her voice laced with false contrition. Chin Sornhu watched this tender display of father-daughter affection with a chilling smile. This only fueled Chin Sornhu's anger and jealousy. Is she mocking me? She seethed. Chin Sornhu continued, her voice dripping with feigned concern. Father, don't men all like beautiful women? Maybe we can appeal to him. I just want to make up for my mistake. That CEO must be an old man. Just you wait. I'll ruin you, so you'll never recover. Chin Hai interrupted her. That's too risky. I'll think of something else. Chin Sornhu's looks. Any man would be captivated. Making her a mistress would be a waste. Marrying her off strategically would be more beneficial. Just then, Chin Sornhu stood up. I'm full. You all can continue racking your brains. She promptly left, Chin Kyo's intentions swirling in her mind. Chin Kyo wanted to leave the Tang family soon. I have to leave the Tang family. These people scheme every single day. Returning to her room, Chin Sornhu settled into her usual spot at her desk, contemplating her next move. The gaming company still needed talent. This Yu Pei wasn't bad, just arrogant and difficult to recruit. Perhaps she should just send an invitation. Elsewhere, a young man sat at his computer when a message popped up. Our company is developing a fully intelligent game. Are you interested in joining us? Let's see if you have the guts. After receiving the message, Chin Sornhu quickly replied, sure. See you at the hacking competition. The young man, impressed, shot back, big talk. See you there. The hacking competition saw Chin Sornhu face off against this challenger. The two exchanged blows, their digital maneuvers swift and skillful. The hacker, brimming with confidence, taunted, is that all you've got? Too weak. Suddenly, Chin Sornhu unleashed a decisive strike, catching him completely off guard. What? What just happened? He stammered in disbelief. Spectators watching the competition erupted in chatter. Isn't that speed record-breaking? These two are incredible. Their IDs are from Huagua. They must be from Huagua. The previous record was 70 levels. This speed must be over 90. Go. Chin Sornhu addressed her opponent. Then, she accelerated, surging ahead, leaving him in the dust. The hacker was stunned. Amazing. Who is this master? As expected, Chin Sornhu emerged victorious. QS wins. QS clears 93 levels, breaking the competition record. After the match, Chin Sornhu shook the young man's hand. You're good, she acknowledged. He, now humbled, admitted, you're even better. I'm completely convinced. I lost fair and square. Chin Sornhu then told him, the company is still in its early stages. You don't need to rush. His face fell slightly. All right, he conceded, but you have to tell me who you are. QS, the mysterious Chin Sornhu, simply replied. Chin Sornhu. Realization dawned on him. QS, isn't that the famous hacker, Black Emperor, everyone's been talking about? I heard they're incredibly arrogant. I didn't believe they were actually this talented. Can I see this fully intelligent game you mentioned? He asked. Chin Sornhu immediately obliged. He was utterly astonished. You possess such extraordinary technical skills. Thank you for the compliment, Chin Sornhu replied. Now, he was truly eager to collaborate. Even if you fire me later, I still want to work at your company. I'll even do it for free. Chin Sornhu chuckled. I can afford to pay you a little something. And with that, the two happily agreed to work together. After successfully negotiating with him, Chin Hai started to feel intrigued. The gaming company was beginning to take perfect shape. With company matters temporarily settled, Chin Hai turned his attention to preparing for the upcoming midterm exams. The following week at school, the fourth-grade homeroom teacher stood before her students, offering words of encouragement. Everyone, don't worry, just relax and do your best. From a distance, the first-grade homeroom teacher could be seen leading her own students towards the examination hall. She glanced at the fourth-grade teacher in her class, then muttered a snide remark. Some classes will take just about anyone. Their average score is bound to be dragged down this time. Lu Ming, overhearing the comment, thought to himself, that first-grade teacher is looking for trouble. The woman showed no signs of stopping. Being in charge of the worst class is hardly better than teaching kindergarten. The fourth-grade teacher, her expression hardening, looked directly at her colleague. Students with both high and low achievements are still our students. Chin Sornhu, having witnessed the first-grade teacher's condescending attitude, smirked. Stepping forward, Chin Sornhu addressed the woman directly. Luong Hoa, you truly don't deserve the title of teacher. Luong Hoa, taken aback, reacted with outrage. What did you say? She grabbed Chin Sornhu's shirt, her voice rising. What do you mean by that? Explain yourself. Chin Sornhu yanked her arm free, her voice cold. Get your hands off me. Witnessing Chin Sornhu's defiant demeanor, Luong Hoa trembled with rage, her teeth gritted. Just wait until after the exam, she thought. I'll see if you're still so smug then. Once all the students were seated, the proctor distributed the exam papers. A wave of groans and sighs rippled through the room as the students took in the difficulty of the questions. 2 stars on the very first question. Who designed this thing? This is beyond the curriculum. I'm doomed. I'm definitely going to fail. Only Chin Sornhu remained impassive. She quickly filled in her answers, and in less than 5 minutes, she set down her pen, resting her head on the desk for a nap, seemingly bored. The proctor, passing by Chin Sornhu's desk, noticed her asleep. He didn't think much of it, assuming she had given up due to the difficulty. Falling asleep at the start of the exam, there's no way she'll get a good score. Time ticked by. As the exam period neared its end, the proctor announced, half an hour remaining. Please use your time wisely. Those who have finished may submit their papers. Panic erupted in the classroom. Students frantically scribbled, heads in their hands, realizing they wouldn't be able to complete the exam. With this level of difficulty, who could possibly finish? Let alone finishing early. I'm not even sure I can finish on time. The proctor, seated at the front, was also scrutinizing the exam paper. Even he was taken aback by its complexity. This is a tough one. Even I'm struggling with it, let alone the students. The overall scores are going to be quite low this time. Lost in thought, he was startled by an exam paper suddenly placed before him. It was Chin Sornhu. The teacher, puzzled, asked, "Is something matter?" She calmly replied, "I'd like to submit my exam." Assuming she had given up, he said, "Are you sure you don't want to continue? You won't receive a score if you submit it now." Chin Sornhu, ignoring him, simply walked out. Seeing Chin Sornhu leave so early, Chin Kyo felt a surge of anxiety. I prepared so thoroughly, but I'm doomed. There's no hope for me. I haven't even finished half the exam. How could Chin Sornhu finish so quickly? Then, she tried to reassure herself. She must have given up. She's definitely going to get a terrible score. That's right, she can't possibly beat me. Outside the examination hall, Luong Hoa, the fourth-grade teacher, happened upon Chin Sornhu emerging from the room. She's already finished? So fast. A smug grin spread across Luong Hoa's face. Looks like Chin Sornhu is nothing special after all. This time, her class's average score is sure to plummet to a record low. Let's see how arrogant she'll be then. The teacher still seethed, remembering Chin Sornhu's previous words. You're not fit to be a teacher. Lu Ming is so much better. The students I teach will all get into prestigious schools. The ones you teach will struggle to even get into college. 2 days later, the day of the exam results finally arrived. Inside the teacher's lounge, the instructors buzzed with anticipation. Teacher Luong, I heard your class did well again this time. When will I be able to teach students like that? Another teacher chimed in enviously. This time, the top 3 in the grade are definitely from Teacher Luong's class again. Tamatu in first, Lu Ming in second, and third place is probably Chin Sornhu. A teacher in a purple blouse turned to Luong Hoa, her voice laced with jealousy. I'm so envious of you. That bonus money is practically in your pocket already. Luong Hoa, basking in the praise, responded with a haughty air. Haha, it's nothing really. It's just that I'm a good teacher. Let me see the detailed rankings. But as she held the results in her hand, Luong Hoa's face drained of color. She stared at the paper in disbelief. What? Tugi-2 is second in the grade? How is that possible? If Tama-2 isn't first, then who is? The teacher in the purple blouse was equally bewildered. Not class 1, not class 2 or 3 either. Could it be class 4? But the teacher in purple immediately dismissed her own suggestion. Impossible. Class 4 is notoriously the worst performing class in the whole school. It can't be them. The three teachers huddled together, scrutinizing the exam results. At the top of the list was none other than our protagonist, Chin Sorn-ho. Luong Hoa flatly refused to believe it. Perfect scores in every subject, ranked first? Impossible. Chin Sorn-ho must have cheated on this exam. Furious, she snatched the results sheet and stormed off, muttering, "I have to go talk to the principal." In the principal's office, Luong Hoa slammed the exam results onto the desk and confronted the principal. "Principal, Chin Sorn-ho is a poor student from the countryside. How could she possibly come here and immediately top the grade? She must have cheated." Behind her stood Chin Sorn-ho and teacher Luong, the proctor who had overseen the exam. Teacher Luong stepped forward to refute the accusation. "Principal, ipurukturatkin surnus exam." She didn't engage in any cheating whatsoever. Luong Hoa continued to argue vehemently. Just because she didn't cheat in the exam hall doesn't mean she didn't cheat at all. Maybe she knew the content of the exam beforehand and had someone else do it for her, or found the answers online. The principal, a look of annoyance on his face, turned to Luong Hoa. "Teacher Luong, do you have any evidence that Chin Sorn cheated?" Hearing this, she jabbed her finger repeatedly at the numerous exam papers on the desk. "Principal, Chin Sorn's answers are identical to the answer key. If she didn't cheat, how could she possibly achieve this? Someone like her can't be let off the hook so easily. You must expel her to set an example for the other students." Luong Hoa then glared at Chin Sorn-ho, mouthing the words, "Dare to challenge me? You're finished." Chin Sorn-ho smirked, a glint of amusement in her eyes. "Who's finished is yet to be seen," she retorted aloud. To herself, she thought, "I can't believe she fell for my trap so easily." She stepped forward to the principal's desk, ready to address the issue. "Principal, if I didn't cheat, and teacher Luong is falsely accusing me, how will you handle the situation?" The principal responded gravely, "I will deal with it seriously and ensure justice is served." Hearing the desired response, Luong Hoa, practically giddy with triumph, folded her arms and proposed, "If that's the case, then you will retake the exam right here, right now, to prove yourself." Seeing Chin Sorn's confident demeanor, Luong Hoa couldn't resist adding a barbed comment. "Chin Sorn-ho, if you can truly prove you didn't cheat, I will apologize to you in front of the entire school." Pausing briefly, a malicious glint in her eyes, she continued, "But if you are cheating, don't blame me for expelling you with this stain on your record. No high school will accept you then." Chin Sorn-ho, undeterred, met her challenge head-on. "I accept. I propose the exam be created on the spot. This will prevent you, Luong Hoa, from thinking I somehow glimpsed the questions beforehand." The principal, taking charge, declared, "All right then, if that's agreed, the teachers from each subject, please prepare the exam questions." Chin Sorn-ho received the papers and, settling down at a desk, began working through them methodically. Luong Hoa hovered nearby, her gaze fixed on the student, determined not to miss a single movement. "How dare you challenge me? You clearly overestimate yourself." These questions, she thought smugly, were painstakingly compiled by us teachers from numerous sources. They're incredibly difficult, even harder than the previous exam. Even I couldn't solve them all. Let's see how Chin Sorn manages to show off now. While Luong Hoa reveled in her perceived victory, Chin Sorn-ho put down her pen, picked up the completed exam, and turned to face her. "I'm finished," Luong Hoa thought to herself. If Chin Sorn-ho actually managed to complete it, I might as well quit teaching. But reality delivered a swift and brutal blow. Looking at the answers, Luong Hoa felt her blood run cold. How is this possible? Every single question on every exam prepared by the four teachers had been answered correctly. Moreover, Chin Sorn-ho had completed them with lightning speed, leaving everyone stunned and speechless. With the exam completed, the principal, seated in his chair, spoke with authority. "All right, teachers, please announce Chin Sorn's scores." One by one, the teachers announced the results. Literature, perfect score. Physics, perfect score. Mathematics, perfect score. Chemistry, perfect score. Luong Hoa, though reluctant, had to announce the final score. English, also a perfect score. The principal fixed Luong Hoa with a stern look. Luong Hoa, do you have anything else to say? Unable to meet his gaze, her face darkening, she stammered, "No, nothing." Nearby, Chin Sornhu, beaming, mouthed the words, "You're finished," directly at Luong Hoa. It was at this moment that Luong Hoa realized she had fallen into Chin Sornhu's trap. I understand now. This was a trap Chin Sornhu laid, just waiting for me to fall into it. Having achieved her objective, Chin Sornhu turned to leave. "Principal, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." Reaching the door, Chin Sornhu paused and looked back, reminding Luong Hoa, "Don't forget your apology." The principal immediately responded, "Don't worry, Chin Sornhu. As a teacher, I always keep my word." He then turned to Luong Hoa, his voice laced with a threat. "Luong Hoa, wouldn't you agree?" Fear finally gripped Luong Hoa. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she bowed her head. "Yes, Principal, you are absolutely right." But inwardly, her thoughts were far different. She seethed with resentment. "It's all Chin Sornhu's fault. That little wretch has humiliated me completely." Returning to her own classroom, she unleashed her fury on her students. "Stop everything. They say you're the best students in the 12th grade in H City, but how could your exam results be so dismal? Do you all take my words as empty air?" Luong Hoa, the 4th grade teacher, snapped, her voice sharp with frustration. "Each and every one of you looks so diligent, yet how could you let a 4th grader snatch first place?" Her words sent a ripple of shock through Class 1. "What? First place? A 4th grader?" Even Chin Sornhu couldn't believe her ears. How was this possible? Chin San, the girl she'd mocked countless times for her poor academic performance, a 4th grader. How could she have possibly achieved the top score? Disbelief warring with indignation, Chin Sornhu raised her hand. "Teacher," she began, her voice laced with suspicion, "I know Chin San's academic record. It's impossible for her to perform this well. Isn't there something wrong? Did she cheat?" The question ignited a furious spark in Luong Hoa. Without a shred of hesitation, Luong Hoa flung the stack of papers in Chin Sornhu's face, her anger boiling over. "Rest assured," she spat, venom dripping from every word, "she did not cheat. As for you, Chin Sornhu, your performance this time was abysmal. 11th place. You should be ashamed. And yes, forget about the math competition. In fact, forget about any future competitions." Humiliation burned Chin Sornhu's cheeks as she clutched her face, unable to offer a retort. If it weren't for Chin San's return, she seethed inwardly, "I wouldn't have to endure this." Why did Chin San always have to steal everything that rightfully belonged to her? Banned from the school competition? Fine. She still had the external art competition. Just wait until she won that and brought home the glory. Then she'd see how Chin San would compete with her. That evening, at the Chin residence, Chin San sat diligently working on a drawing in her room. Her phone buzzed with an incoming call. "I'm sorry to bother you so late," a voice said. "Are you free this weekend? If so, would you mind coming over? Grandfather says he misses you terribly." A smile touched Chin San's lips. "Of course," she replied cheerfully. "I actually have a few things I'd like to discuss with Grandfather Six as well." That weekend, as promised, Chin San arrived at Grandfather Six's house. He greeted her with open arms, his face beaming. San, you finally came to visit this old man. I've missed you so much." She settled into a chair and pulled out her iPad, displaying a partially completed artwork. "Grandfather," she began, "this is the piece I'm planning to submit to the H City Art Competition. It's still a work in progress. I've only done a rough sketch on the tablet. Would you mind taking a look?" Grandfather Six's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Oh, since San you draw?" A delighted grin spread across Grandfather Six's face as he took the iPad and slipped on his reading glasses. "Finally, something I can help San with. When it comes to art, I'm still quite renowned in the business world, you know." But as Fuhan Shuyan, Grandfather Six, looked at the drawing, a flicker of recognition, almost a shock, ran through him. He'd seen this image before. It was eerily similar to a scene from a dream he'd had. How could Chin San have possibly drawn this? After a thoughtful pause, Grandfather Six offered his critique. San, your skill is remarkable. Even this old man has to admit, I'm impressed. There are just a few areas I'd like to suggest some improvements. This section here feels a bit heavy and oppressive. Perhaps adding a window to let in some light would create a sense of hope. Chin San's eyes lit up with gratitude. "Thank you, Grandfather Six. I've been struggling with that area for a while now. Your suggestion makes perfect sense." San, you have a true gift for art, Grandfather Six said, his voice warm with affection as he gently patted her head. If you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to come to me. I may not be an expert in everything, but when it comes to painting, I'm far better than many domestic artists. Calling me master wouldn't be an exaggeration. Yes, Grandfather Six, San replied with a chuckle. As long as you don't mind me bothering you. Ah, it's getting late. Let me see you out. Fuhan Shuyan, gripping the steering wheel, was consumed with questions about the painting San had shown him earlier. Unable to contain his curiosity any longer, he turned to her and asked, San, where did you find the inspiration for that painting? Her voice quiet and thoughtful, she replied, I dreamt it. It was a very long dream. I seem to see everything that happened in my past life. Fuhan Shuyan was startled by her words, but he pressed gently. Could you tell me about your dream? Of course, she answered. In the dream, I lived on a dilapidated farm. Her voice was tinged with sadness as she began to pour out the story of her past life to him. After listening intently, he glanced at her, his eyes filled with compassion. I've had a similar dream, he admitted. Only mine was more detailed and specific than what you've described. He paused, reflecting on the pain her story evoked. Seeing her body tremble, he reached out and placed his hand over hers, as if to transfer his warmth to her, to comfort her, to let her know he was there. Then, with a serious expression, he said, San, whether those dreams are real or not, I will protect you for the rest of my life. The next morning, San, looking stylish and confident in a white outfit, was on her way to the company she had recently acquired. As she walked, she spoke on her phone to Fuhan Shuyan. The company registration. Thank you so much for your help, Mr. Fu. I am truly grateful. Fuhan Shuyan's voice was filled with affection as he replied, Between us, there's no need for thanks. San continued walking and soon arrived at her company building. She looked up at the building, her heart swelling with emotion. The company is finally established, she thought, but this is just the workspace. My goal is to build the headquarters in the capital city. Inside the company, the young hacker San had recruited was waiting, brimming with curiosity. Manager Hong, he asked, what does your boss look like? Is he middle-aged? Does he have a beer belly like Chan? Manager Hong chuckled at the young man's imaginative description. Haha, you'll see for yourself soon enough if he has a beer belly like Chan. Seeing San enter, Manager Hong stood up and greeted her. The boss is here. The young hacker, seeing a fresh-faced young woman walk in, stood up and teased. Did you come alone? Where's your dad? Don't tell me he's hiding because he's afraid to meet me. Confused by the hacker's flippant and nonsensical remarks, San simply stood there, silently observing him. Manager Hong, stifling a laugh, walked over and clapped the young man on the shoulder. Ahem, he announced, this is the boss. The hacker froze, his jaw dropping. After a moment, he stammered, Oh my God, you're not joking, are you? San stepped forward and extended her hand. Hello, she said. I'm Kues. It was an honor to break the record with you at the hacking competition. The young man, due back, only snapped back to reality when San mentioned his alias, QS. Embarrassed, he shook her hand and introduced himself. Hello, I'm due back, the one you utterly defeated at the hacking competition. Inwardly, he marveled at the skill of this poised young woman. He couldn't believe that his lifetime of honed hacking prowess had been dismantled by a girl, and dismantled thoroughly at that. San pulled a USB drive from her pocket and tossed it towards him. This is the core technology for the intelligent, comprehensive game. Take it and study it carefully. Hearing that it was the core technology, and seeing San offer it without a shred of doubt, due back's admiration for her sword. He clutched the USB drive, his eyes gleaming. Okay, boss. I'll get right to work. When they were alone in the room, Manager Hong voiced her concerns. Boss, although our company is officially registered regarding the financial deficit, she didn't get to finish. San cut her off with a firm, reassuring reply. Manager Hong, you don't need to worry about finances. I'll take care of it. Leaving the company, San hurried to her next appointment at a cafe. A man, Feng Suo, was already waiting. He was the president of Fengsher Film Company. Seeing San arrive, he unceremoniously pulled out a chair and sat across from her. Feng Suo, his face etched with annoyance, spoke. Miss, I think you made a mistake. This seat is taken. San sat down, crossed her legs, and confidently replied, Don't worry, I haven't. Hello, President Feng. I'm San, the one who scheduled this meeting. Feng Shuo hadn't expected the person he was meeting to be this young, seemingly inexperienced girl. Disappointed, he stood up, struggling to contain his frustration. "You're the one who contacted me, claiming you could save Feng Shui? Miss, I don't have time for games." Across from him, Qin San remained unfazed by his hostility. With a blend of confidence and a touch of arrogance, she responded, "I told you, I have a way to revive your company and even take it to greater heights than before." Qin San handed Feng Shuo a stack of documents and continued, "President Feng, since you're already here, surely you can spare a few minutes? If you don't mind, take a look at my plan before you decide to refuse." "It's not too late, is it?" Feng Shuo took the documents. As soon as he opened the first page, he couldn't stop reading. A glimmer of hope flickered within him. This document was nothing short of a lifeline for his company. The plan encompassed all aspects of company management and cinema operations, and it was incredibly valuable. He felt certain that if he followed her plan, his company could be saved. Feng Shuo returned the documents to Qin San. Instead of leaving, he sat back down. "Miss Qin, I don't know what you want from our company. As you know, we're in a difficult situation. So, although I'd like to, I don't have the funds to collaborate with you." Seeing everything unfold according to her plan, Qin San confidently made her proposal. "It's fine. After your film, Fleeting Clouds, premieres, I want 5% of its revenue." She made this request because she remembered her past life. After its release, Fleeting Clouds had been a box office sensation, raking in $4.5 billion in revenue. If Feng Shuo agreed, she stood to gain significantly. Hearing Qin San's proposal, Feng Shuo froze, lost in thought. Floating Clouds at Dawn. It was a film by a new director, and no one in the industry had high hopes for it. In fact, it had been gathering dust in the company's archives for a year. Qin San saw the skepticism in Feng Shuo's eyes and added, "President Feng, just make sure it gets plenty of screenings. I believe your company will be pleasantly surprised." Seeing no real downside, Feng Shuo immediately agreed to Qin San's terms. "Okay, deal. No problem, President Qin. A pleasure doing business with you." He thought to himself, "Well, this business plan is worth more than Floating Clouds at Dawn anyway. I have to get my hands on it." Qin San extended her hand in return. "I hope we have a fruitful partnership." Time flew by, and a week passed quickly. Finally, following Qin San's instructions, Feng Shui Corporation released Floating Clouds at Dawn in theaters. At the same time, their rival, Fei Long Pictures, also premiered their film, Storm Cloud 6. At the Feng Shui office, Feng Shuo was on pins and needles. He constantly checked his phone, monitoring the box office numbers. Seeing the figures, he couldn't help but sigh. Only 1/6 of the pre-sale tickets for Floating Clouds at Dawn compared to Storm Cloud 6, but the reviews for Floating Clouds at Dawn are better. There's still hope. "I hope everything goes smoothly," just like Qin San said. Outside, his secretary rushed in, phone in hand, looking flustered. "President Feng, internet trolls." Internet trolls. Seeing his secretary's panicked state, Feng Shuo braced himself for the worst. Could Fei Long have hired internet trolls to smear Floating Clouds at Dawn? "We don't have the funds to hire our own to control the narrative." Disappointment and frustration warred within him. Could we really lose to Storm Clouds 6 this time? The secretary shook his head and excitedly showed his phone to President Feng. "It's not like that, President Feng. They can't post any negative comments. It's absolutely mind-boggling." While Feng Shui's office was quiet with anticipation, Fei Long Pictures was in chaos. President Li Yongyan, seeing the unfavorable situation, slammed his hand on the table and roared at his employees. "Didn't I tell you to manipulate public opinion and discredit their film? Why haven't you done it yet?" An employee, clutching his laptop, swiveled the screen, displaying a red warning alert, and explained nervously, "It's not like that, President Lee. We've encountered a strange problem. We can't post any negative comments." The irascible President Lee slammed his fist on the table again. "I don't care. Figure out. If you can't solve this, don't bother coming to work tomorrow." The 3 employees, seeing the tense atmosphere, broke out in a cold sweat and scurried off to find solution. Back at Feng Shui Corporation, Feng Shuo's face was grim. The secretary, seeing his expression, elaborated on the situation. They post a comment, and it immediately disappears. "It's incredibly strange. Moreover, our pre-sale tickets for Floating Clouds at Dawn for tomorrow have surpassed Storm Cloud 6 by more than tenfold." Feng Shuo was stunned. An image of Qin San flashed through his mind. Could it be her? Suspicion gnawing at him, he called her to probe. "Miss Qin, are you behind the situation with the online comments?" On the other end of the line, Chin-sen didn't try to hide anything, immediately confirming, yes, that's right. I just use a little trick to stop them from posting those negative reviews about fleeting clouds. Don't worry, I have a lot of confidence in your film. The secretary, still buzzing from the rapidly increasing ticket sales, excitedly added, it looks like Fleeting Clouds is going to be a huge hit. Feng Suo hung up the phone, a chill still running down his spine. I definitely can't afford to offend Chin-san in the future, he thought. This woman's power is too formidable. The scene shifted to the Fu family villa. Fu Han Shuyan strolled along, browsing the day's trending news. Sansa mentioned wanting to invest in this film a while back. He mused. I didn't expect it to become this popular. Looks like she's about to become a billionaire. He smiled, thinking about his incredible future wife, when a roar interrupted his thoughts. Fu Han Shuyan, you're half an hour late. You've got a lot of nerve making the whole family wait for you to eat dinner. Hearing the nagging, his expression changed instantly, reverting to his usual cold indifference. Really? I don't recall telling anyone to wait. Mr. Fu, stung by his son's retort, sputtered indignantly. You ungrateful wretch. Do you even have any respect for the Fu family? Unfazed by his irresponsible father, Fu Han Shuyan shot back. I should ask you the same question. Do you even consider me your son? Abandoning your wife and child to marry that low-class mistress. You have no right to call me ungrateful. His stepmother, feigning a wounded air, leaned against Mr. Fu, seeking his protection. Her performance successfully widened the rift between father and son. Mr. Fu, enraged, slammed his hand on the dining table. Fu An-suyan, apologize to your mother right now. He remained unmoved, his gaze icy as he looked at his father and stepmother. Seeing the tension escalate, Grandfather Fu slammed his hand on the table and rose to his feet. Apologize? For what? Han Shuyan is absolutely right. A barfly with no status has no business setting foot in the Fu family home. Grandfather Fu, referring to Fu Han Shuyan's stepmother, continued his interrogation of his son. Besides, have you ever cared about Han Shuyan? You have no right to call him ungrateful. His expression softening, Grandfather Fu turned to his grandson. Han Shuyan, come sit with me. The stepmother, putting on a saccharine sweet facade, attempted to defend her husband. Hongyi actually cares a lot about Han Shuyan. It's just that he's usually very busy with work, so he doesn't have time to check in on him. Grandfather Fu's face darkened. The Fu family's affairs are none of your concern, he snapped. Chastened by Grandfather Fu's tone, the stepmother fell silent. Grandfather Fu's expression softened as he turned to Fu Han Shuyan. Han Shuyan, he asked with a smile, how's work been lately? Are you busy with anything? Fu Hongyi, harboring resentment towards his eldest son, sneered and interrupted. Like he could ever accomplish anything worthwhile. He spends all day at home or at the Liu family's. If it weren't for his status as the eldest young master of the Fu family, he'd be begging on the streets. Grandfather Fu, exasperated by his foolish son's interruption, barked, shut your mouth. He placed a hand on Fu Han Shuyan's arm and gently proposed, Han Shuyan, if you're not busy with anything at the moment, why don't you come work at our company? I'll make you the CEO. What do you say? Sound good? Upon hearing this, the face of the stepson darkened considerably. A clear expression of displeasure etched upon his features. Vice President Hong, ever the biased one, chimed in, giving him the CEO position is worse than giving it to Minhuk. The scheming stepmother, though inwardly pleased, feigned a wounded air, gently chiding her husband. Hongyi dear, please don't say such things. Interrupted yet again. Grandfather Fu's patience finally snapped. Damn it, Hongyi, you favor Minhuk so much. Is Han Shuyan not your son? He glared at his son. Hongyi, let me tell you, they are both your sons. You cannot favor one over the other. Fu Han Shuyan, sitting silently to the side, felt a wave of disgust wash over him at the scene unfolding before him. He calmly and deliberately responded to his grandfather. I won't go. Grandfather Fu, his plans momentarily thwarted by Han Shuyan's refusal, softened his tone and attempted to persuade him. Han Shuyan, he said, his voice laced with a calculated gentleness. If you agree to work at the company, you can name your price. Whatever it is, I will agree to it. His reasoning was simple. Only Han Shuyan could salvage the company. He couldn't afford to let him leave the Fu family. Hearing his grandfather's open-ended offer, Han Shuyan decided to test the waters. What if I want all the shares of everyone in the Fu family? He asked, his voice even. Grandfather Fu hadn't anticipated such a bold demand. He froze, hesitation evident in his eyes as he thought, I only want Han Shuyan to come to the company to help with things. I want to exploit his abilities, not give him any shares. Han Shuyan, seeing his grandfather's reaction, seemed to read his thoughts and discern his true intentions. A hint of mockery crept into his voice. This is the only way I'll help Fu Corporation. You want my help but aren't willing to give anything in return? It's laughable. That's not how things work. Han Shuyan's mocking tone caused Grandfather Fu's amiable facade to crumble. The gentle persuasion vanished, replaced by a forceful, almost desperate command. You are a member of the Fu family. You have a duty to help the company. You don't have the right to refuse. Han Shuyan could no longer contain his frustration. He stood up, his face grim. Really? Has the Fu family ever treated me like a member of the Fu family? His gaze swept coldly across the faces at the dining table. You are the family. I'm just an outsider who happens to share your blood. His words hung heavy in the air, silencing the room. No one dared to challenge him. Disgusted by the charade and the suffocating atmosphere, Han Shuyan decided he couldn't bear to stay a moment longer. He turned to leave, his parting words echoing in the tense silence. I won't disturb your family dinner any further. Goodbye. Grandfather Fu, enraged, slammed his hand on the table and roared, Fu Han Shuyan, if you walk out that door today, don't ever come back. Han Shuyan's face remained impassive, his resolve unwavering. Is that so? He replied coldly. I couldn't ask for more. With that, he walked out. His decisive action sent Grandfather Fu into a fit of rage. He sank back into his chair, trembling with fury, unable to speak. Manhwa, seizing the opportunity to play the dutiful son, rushed to his grandfather's side with medicine and water. Don't be angry, grandfather. Please take your medicine. He then added, feigning understanding. He'll understand your hardship later. He'll come to help you at the company eventually. Hearing this, Grandfather Fu's fondness for his grandson, Manhwa, grew. Manhwa, if your brother understood my intentions even half as well as you do, I wouldn't have to worry so much. Manhwa seized the opportunity, crouching down and looking at Grandfather Fu with feigned sincerity, continuing his performance. If only my brother faced some hardships out there, then he'd understand how important the Fu family support truly is. Grandfather Fu quickly fell for Manhwa's manipulative scheme. He snorted coldly, agreeing with his grandson's assessment. If you're right, without the Fu family, how could he live so comfortably? A sinister smile crept across his face as he made his decision. I wanted to know that no one can help him besides the Fu family. His mind made up, he immediately turned to Manhwa and instructed, quickly use the company's official website to announce to everyone that from today onwards, the Fu family will no longer manage anything related to Fu Han Shuyan. Manhwa, having achieved his goal, felt a surge of triumph, but maintained a facade of concern as he feigned reluctance. Grandfather, I don't think this is a good idea. Grandfather Fu immediately cut him off. Don't say another word. Just do as I say. Yes, grandfather, Manhwa replied, bowing his head with a sinister smirk playing on his lips. His objective of isolating Fu Han Shuyan had been accomplished. Back in his office, he sat with his feet up on his desk, barking orders into the phone. Quickly post on Weibo, informing everyone that Fu Han Shuyan has severed ties with the Fu family. Hanging up, he reveled in his victory. Just spreading the news that the Fu family is no longer supporting Fu Han Shuyan won't be enough to change his life. Only by completely severing ties will the world turn its back on him. He laughed, his voice filled with malice. Haha, that's my true objective. Only then will Fu Han Shuyan's life become truly difficult. I want everyone to know that I am the only true young master of the Fu family, the sole heir to the Fu Corporation. Yes, this position can only belong to me, Fu Han Shuyan. I will forever keep you beneath my heel. Haha. He burst into laughter, savoring his perceived triumph. The next day at school, as the bell rang 3 times, signaling the end of class, the teacher addressed the students. Tomorrow there will be a parent-teacher meeting. Remember to tell your parents to attend on time. If there are no further questions, class dismissed. The classroom erupted in a cacophony of groans and complaints. Why do they insist on having parent-teacher meetings every few weeks? Ugh, parent-teacher meetings are a student's worst nightmare. A red-haired student propped his chin on his hand and sighed dramatically. I'm doomed. My dad's going to kill me. He stood up and walked over to Chin-san's desk, curiously inquiring about her family situation. Chin-san, your parents must be thrilled to attend the parent-teacher meeting knowing you got first place, right? Chin-san, anticipating the question, replied with a resolute tone, they won't be coming. When Chin-san arrived home, Chin-soru had just gotten there shortly before her. In the living room, their mother was busy choosing an outfit for the parent-teacher meeting the following day. Seeing Chin-soru, she called out, Soru, I'll be going to school with you tomorrow. I'm sure the teacher will praise you again. Come here and help me decide which outfit to wear to the parent-teacher meeting. Chin-soru's face was tight with tension, a flicker of guilt in her eyes after the day's events at school. She gave her mother a cursory, placating response. Everything was fine, mother. Everything was lovely. Then, approaching her mother with a carefully crafted air of innocence, she inquired, Mother, you're going to the parent-teacher meeting for me tomorrow, right? So father will go to older sister's meeting, won't he? At the mention of Chin-san, her mother's expression soured. Her grades are simply too dreadful. Your father and I won't be attending her parent-teacher meeting. Going would only bring shame upon ourselves. Mr. Chin, who had been reading the newspaper, chimed in, addressing Chin-san as she ascended the stairs. San, I won't be able to make it to your parent-teacher meeting tomorrow. I have some urgent business at the company, and your mother will be attending Soru's meeting. So, be a good girl and stay by yourself tomorrow, and try not to cause any trouble. Chin-san looked at the two people who were her parents in name only and offered a chillingly mirthless smile. A sardonic twist of her lips accompanied her words. Oh, I see. It seems that only Chin-soru is your daughter, then? Her mother bristled. How dare you speak to me like that? Chin-san, try to be a little more understanding. Soru is your younger sister. You can't just leave her to fend for herself. Ever since you returned to the Chin family, you've done nothing but try to compete with her for everything. Chin-san's heart turned to ice within the confines of this house. She shoved a hand into her pocket, her expression indifferent as she turned to leave. Fine, from now on, the Chin family can consider themselves without a daughter like me. Why don't you just kick me out of the Chin house tomorrow? That way, I won't have the opportunity to steal anything from your precious daughter, Chin-soru. If there's nothing else, I'll be returning to my room. Mr. and Mrs. Chin watched her retreating figure with simmering resentment. Only Chin-soru wore a triumphant smirk, her scheme having played out perfectly. This way, her parents would remain blissfully ignorant of Chin-san's first-place win in the recent school-wide competition. The day of the parent-teacher meeting arrived. A throng of parents converged on the school. Chin-san's pink-haired friend linked arms with her as they walked down the hallway. I heard your parents don't have time to come to your meeting, she said, her voice laced with concern. A gaggle of Chin-soru's followers seized the opportunity, their hands clasped over their mouths as they giggled and whispered amongst themselves. A barrage of cruel remarks about Chin-san filled the air. Everyone knows Chin-san is being kept by someone. Her parents are probably too ashamed to show their faces. No, I heard she's a country bumpkin. Her parents are too cheap to come, that's all. Oh, how pathetic. Almost every parent was present for the meeting. Only an orphan like Chin-san would be left alone, one girl sneered. Chin-soru, standing nearby, preened at their words. Chin-san's pink-haired friend, however, immediately rolled up her sleeves, ready to pounce. What did you just say? Seeing her friend's fiery reaction, Chin-san quickly intervened, placing a restraining hand on her arm. She leveled a steady gaze at the gossiping girls, her voice ringing with an unexpected authority. Oh, I heard you all scored at the bottom of the class this time. Perhaps you're just like me, wishing your parents wouldn't show up. Unfortunately for you, it seems your wish didn't come true. The taunting girls were silenced, their faces darkening with a mixture of anger and embarrassment. The girl with short hair, her fists clenched, stammered a retort. Chin-san, even if our grades are worse than yours, our character is far superior. Chin-san's lips curled into a sardonic smile. Oh, really? How terrible. She crossed her arms with an air of defiance. Then tell me specifically, let me hear how my character is so bad. Why don't you take a look at yourselves? Every time you see me, you start gossiping. As far as I'm concerned, that's not the behavior of someone with good character. The girl with short hair was speechless, unable to retort. She turned to Chin-Suru, pleading, Soru, say something. Chin-Suru, finally finding her voice, said, all right, that's enough. Putting on a pitiful expression, she launched into her practice performance. San, don't be so harsh. They're just concerned, worried you're being kept by some man, worried you'll be taken advantage of. Chin-San's blood boiled. Her face turned icy, an aura of barely contained fury swirling around her. Kept by a man? Huh. Chin-Suru, you're very good. Chin-San pointed a cold finger at the group in front of her. And the rest of you, always going on about me being kept. Have you forgotten the headmaster's decree? The punishment for spreading baseless rumors is severe. Expulsion. I suggest you all rein yourselves in. Keep your mouths shut. Otherwise, you might find yourselves unexpectedly expelled. Chin-San's words had an immediate effect. The girls' faces paled, and they covered their mouths, not daring to utter another word. The tense atmosphere was broken by a chorus of excited whispers echoing from the other end of the hallway. Wow, so handsome. The object of their admiration was none other than Fu-Han Shuyan. Today, he wore casual clothes that somehow managed to exude an irresistible charm, making every girl's heart flutter. Even Chin-San's pink-haired friend felt a pang of longing. San, look at that handsome guy. He's so gorgeous. A total cold, aloof heartthrob. This is the first time I've seen such a handsome man. Chin-San stared, surprised. It's him? Why is he here? Wherever Fu-Han Shuyan walked, a trail of admiring whispers followed. Oh my God, he's so handsome. I bet he's here for the parent-teacher meeting. Maybe he has a younger brother or sister at our school. If you were my boyfriend, I'd wake up laughing from my dreams. The girl standing next to Chin-Suru, gazing at Fu-Han Shuyan, began to flatter her. Suru, I think only you are worthy of such a man. A perfect match, a beautiful woman and a talented man. You're the only one who can compare to him. She continued excitedly. Suru, do you think he's here looking for you? Chin-Suru blushed, a flicker of hope in her eyes. Could he really be looking for me? She wondered. As Fu-Han Shuyan drew closer, Chin-Suru, lost in her fantasy, didn't dare look up. Her heart pounded with a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. Fu-Han Shuyan's path was blocked. He looked at Chin-Suru with annoyance and addressed her coolly. Excuse me. Convinced that the handsome stranger was there for Chin-Suru, her friend leaned in and whispered, Suru, he's calling you. Chin-Suru, brimming with confidence and basking in the attention, looked at Fu-Han Shuyan. Feigning familiarity, she asked, You're here? Two girls nearby were gossiping in hushed tones. Could that handsome guy really be here for Chin-Suru? I think so. I bet Chin-Suru has a thing with him. A few others chimed in, unable to contain their speculation. Seriously, Chin-Suru is like heaven's favorite. Everything good just falls into her lap. Look at her. Not only is she beautiful, but she also has great grades, a wealthy family, and now even her boyfriend is top tier. Handsome and rich. Just as Chin-Suru preened, convinced the handsome stranger was there for her, Fu-Han Shuyan walked past her with an air of indifference. His words were like a bucket of ice water. Excuse me, you're in my way. His words left Chin-Suru mortified, wishing the earth would swallow her whole. Fu-Han Shuyan then approached Chin-San, his voice softening as he called out, San. Chin-San greeted him politely, then, puzzled, asked, Mr. Fu, why are you here? He reached out and affectionately ruffled her hair. I'm here for San's parent-teacher meeting, of course. Fu-Han Shuyan had gone straight to Chin-San upon arriving at the school. Catching a faint whiff of candy on her, he leaned in and asked indulgently, San, have you been eating candy? He asked because Chin-San always had a pleasant, sweet scent about her. Chin-San, momentarily stunned by his unexpected question, quickly recovered and reached into her pocket. Oh yes, Mr. Fu, would you like some? She pulled out 2 pieces of candy and offered them to him. He looked at the candy in her hand, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. Sanson wasn't well cared for as a child and suffered from malnutrition, which led to hypoglycemia. That's why she developed the habit of eating candy. Fu-Han Shuyan quickly accepted the candy. Thank you, San. Chin-San smiled and nodded. Fu-Han Shuyan unwrapped a piece and popped it into his mouth. I swear, I'll make those Feng family people pay, he thought with a smile. After finishing the candy, he headed into the classroom for the meeting. Before entering, he turned back to her with a fond look. The candy is delicious, San. I'll see you inside. Okay, she replied. As he entered the classroom, The homeroom teacher turned to him to confirm his identity. Whose parent are you? He replied with a touch of pride. I'm Chin San's older brother. Seeing such a handsome man connected to her friend, the girl with pink hair gasped and whispered to Chin San. San, you're so lucky. I can't believe you have such a handsome older brother. Chin San simply smiled, offering no explanation. The crowd outside buzzed with excitement. Oh my God, he's so handsome. Is he really Chin San's brother? Having a brother like that, you can tell he's from a rich family. She's definitely not being kept by a sugar daddy like those rumors said. Looks like those rumors debunked themselves. Hearing the whispers, Chin San fell into thought. Given our current relationship, calling him my brother isn't entirely wrong. Let them think what they want. The homeroom teacher handed out the test results to the parents. This exam was quite challenging, but everyone's scores are much higher than last time, especially Chin San's. She topped the class with perfect scores in every subject. Fuhan Shuyan looked over Chin San's test results, his heart swelling with pride. His little girl was truly remarkable. A few parents turned around and struck up conversations with him. You're Chin San's older brother, right? Could you tell us about her study habits at home? We'd love to use them as inspiration for our own children. Seeing everyone's attention focused on his future wife, Fuhan Shuyan puffed up with pride. He began to embellish, singing her praises. It's all about talent and hard work. My little one just holes up in her study after getting home. He put on an air of smug satisfaction, leaving the other parents speechless at the apparent brilliance of his future wife. Chin San, standing outside the door, nearly fainted at his words. She wondered, bewildered, hole up in my study after getting home? When? Mr. Fu seems to have some kind of misunderstanding about me. Meanwhile, in the first grade classroom, Mrs. Chin, dressed impeccably, arrived for Chin Soru's parent-teacher meeting. As soon as Chin Soru saw her mother arrive, the other parents swarmed around her, showering her with flattery. Oh, Soru's mother is here. Your Soru is so talented, always at the top of the class. Truly, if it were me, I wouldn't be able to raise such a bright, beautiful, and accomplished daughter. A man approached and inquired, Soru's mother, you must supervise her studies closely at home, right? Mrs. Chin beamed, her eyes crinkling at the corners. It's all Soru's own effort. I just offer her some simple guidance. Good grades aren't just about hard work, they're about talent too. At this point, Mrs. Chin's gaze swept over the other parents, and she added with a thinly veiled barb, without talent, no matter how much you study, you can't achieve high scores on exams. The other parents clearly understood the implication in her words, and their faces fell. Isn't she just implying our children are untalented? They thought, their goodwill towards Mrs. Chin evaporating. Each silently fumed. So what if her daughter's scores are high? Ours aren't so bad that they deserve such criticism. The parents quickly dispersed, no longer wanting to interact with Mrs. Chin. So she made it into the top 10. Big deal. The final scores haven't even been released yet. It's still too early to tell who's on top, one muttered. Teacher Liang Hua emerged, holding a stack of test results, and called out, It's time. Why are you all still standing around? Please return to your seats so we can begin the meeting. Mrs. Chin bustled over to Teacher Liang, eager to inquire. Teacher Liang, how did our Sora do on the exam? Teacher Liang Hua's face darkened, still smarting from the 4th grade incident where Sora's class had outperformed hers. She snapped. You still have a nerve to ask? Chin Sora dropped from the top 3 to 11th place. Do you think that's a good result? The university entrance exams are crucial, so parents need to pay more attention. Encourage your children to study hard at home. Don't rely on me for everything. Teacher Liang Hua, her face pinched in annoyance, waved her hand dismissively. All right, everyone return to your seats. The parent-teacher meeting is about to begin. Don't waste the other parents' time. Mrs. Chin, after a moment of stunned disbelief, felt a burning shame creep up her neck. She wanted nothing more than to melt into the floor. The parents she had previously sneered at now exchanged knowing glances, their whispers carrying across the room. My, someone's daughter only managed 11th place, and yet acted so superior. My son came in 4th. Does that mean I have the right to look down on certain people now? Another chimed in. Yes, indeed. Someone's always boasting about how brilliant their daughter is, without considering their own standing. Mrs. Chin's face drained of color as the whispers continued, her gaze fixed firmly on the floor. Seething, she muttered under her breath, How dare they look down on me? Soru, failing to make the top 10, and not even telling me beforehand. I've been utterly humiliated. After school, Mrs. Chin pulled Soru aside, her voice sharp with displeasure. Soru, what happened? How did you only manage 11th place on this exam? Chin Soru, well prepared, adopted a pitiful expression. Mother, she began, her voice trembling slightly. You know, I wasn't feeling well that day. I had a cold, and during the exam, I suddenly felt so dizzy. She touched her face delicately, tears welling in her eyes. I'm so sorry, Mother. Whatever the reason, I know I didn't do well. Immediately swayed by Soru's performance, Mrs. Chin's anger dissipated. She pulled her daughter into a comforting embrace. There, Soru. This time you failed, but it's all right. Just do better next time. Yes, Mother, Soru replied meekly. I'll do better next time. Mrs. Chin, her spirits revived, patted Soru's shoulder. That's my girl. I know you're much more capable than that San girl. No matter what, you still did better than Chin-san. Hearing this, a flicker of fear crossed Soru's face. She dreaded the moment her mother discovered San's true ranking. And as if summoned by her fear, two parents from the 4th grade, passing by after their own parent-teacher meeting, chattered animatedly. This time, the top student wasn't Su Xuanyu, but that Chin-san from class 4. Hard to believe, isn't it? Soru's blood ran cold. She glanced nervously at her mother, panic rising in her chest. It's over, she thought. Mother's about to find out about San. Mrs. Chin, overhearing the conversation, felt her own face pale. She turned to Soru, her voice tight. Soru, is it true? Did Chin-san really get first place? Soru, knowing she couldn't hide the truth any longer, whispered a fearful, yes, Mother. The confirmation hit Mrs. Chin like a thunderbolt. How is that possible? She stammered, her face a mask of disbelief. Quick to seize the opportunity, Soru concocted a story. Putting on her most innocent face, she said, during the exam, San and I were in the same room. She kept looking down at something. It seemed a little strange. But since she's my sister, I didn't want to tell the teacher. Soru thought she had successfully navigated the situation, but her mother's next words stopped her cold. So, Mrs. Chin asked, a glint in her eye, doesn't your classroom have cameras? Come on, let's go report her. Panic flared in Soru's chest. The thought of her lie being exposed terrified her. No, I can't let Mother find out I'm lying. Feigning innocence, she clung to her mother's arm. Mother, please don't. If San is caught cheating, won't it damage the Chin family's reputation? Mrs. Chin paused, considering her daughter's words. Reluctantly, she conceded, giving Soru a light flick on the forehead. Soru, I know you're thinking of your sister, she said, her voice softening, but she certainly won't appreciate it. So if this happens again, don't just take it, okay? If she continues to cheat, tell the teacher. Yes, Mother. Let's go home, Chin Soru said, then nuzzled her head against Mrs. Chin's shoulder, successfully concealing the truth of the situation. But as they reached the school gates, they saw Chin-san being picked up by Fuhan Shuyan. He even chivalrously opened a car door for her. Mrs. Chin, displeased, folded her arms and began to scold. So shameless. At such a young age, already engaging in romantic relationships. It's clear she hasn't experienced the world. Coming to the big city and imitating those shameless women. Chin-san overheard her mother's harsh words, her heart turning colder than ever. She shot a sharp, icy glance towards Mrs. Chin. Then, resolutely, she got into Fuhan Shuyan's car. Let's go, she said. Fuhan Shuyan radiated an aura of icy rage. His face was glacial as he looked at the woman who, despite being Chin-san's biological mother, was all talk and no substance. Mrs. Chin, still standing there, continued her tirade. How could I have given birth to such a child? She treats me like I'm invisible. Fuhan Shuyan, thoroughly disgusted, revved the engine, sending a plume of exhaust fumes towards Mrs. Chin and Chin Soru, effectively silencing them. Watching the car carrying Chin-san disappear, Mrs. Chin felt that Chin-san wasn't even worth a fraction of Chin Soru. Turning to her favored daughter, she plastered on a smile and patted Chin Soru's head. Soru, it's a good thing I still have you. Basking in her mother's affection, Chin Soru beamed, her inner thoughts gloating. Chin-san will never be as good as me in Mother's eyes. Ha! After taking Chin-san out for dinner, Fuhan Shuyan, as usual, drove her back to the Chin family home. Before saying goodbye, he handed her a pink bag, his voice full of affection. San, have some candy. Chin-san happily accepted the bag. She noticed it was filled with her favorite candies. She hadn't realized he'd been paying so much attention. "Thank you, Mr. Fu." Popping a candy in her mouth, she felt all her earlier frustration melt away, replaced by a sweet, satisfying taste. She cupped her cheeks, a lovely smile gracing her lips. "It's so sweet." "Thank you, Mr. Fu." Seeing her happy expression brought a smile to his own face. He gently stroked her hair with his warm hand, his gaze unwavering and full of affection as he looked into her eyes. "As long as you like it." The next day, at school, the school bell rang 3 times, but Chin-san still hadn't arrived in class. Teacher Liang Hua seized the opportunity to assert her authority. Slamming a stack of papers onto the desk, she barked, "Where is Chin-san?" Being a student, and yet always late or leaving early, utterly unbecoming of a student. Witnessing teacher Liang Hua's overbearing attitude, the entire class remained silent. 5 minutes later, Chin-san arrived. Standing at the doorway, she calmly announced, "I'm here." Teacher Liang Hua's face flushed with anger. She snapped, "Chin-san, you're 5 minutes late. Don't think that just because you ranked first, you can keep that position forever." Standing in the doorway, Chin-san looked at teacher Liang Hua with an unreadable expression, remaining silent. Seeing Chin-san's unyielding demeanor, Mrs. Chin slammed her hand on the desk in frustration. "Your disrespectful attitude towards your elders won't always be tolerated," she scolded. "All right then, Chin-san, it seems you don't want to be in this class anymore. Is that right? Go stand outside." Inwardly, Mrs. Chin seethed, anticipating a groveling apology. "If you don't want to stand outside, then beg me." But contrary to her expectations, Chin-san coolly turned and left the classroom without a word. Teacher Liang Hua watched her go, fuming but powerless to do anything. A young man with red hair stood up indignant. "Teacher, I was late too. If Chin-san has to stand outside, then I have no right to stay in class either." Teacher Liang Hua, her chest tightening with anger, pointed at him and snapped, "Oh, so you want to join her? Get out." Her harsh treatment of the students sparked discontent throughout the 4th grade class. Chin-san's deskmate also stood, raising their hand. "Teacher, I was late too." A cascade of hands followed. "Teacher, me too." "And me." Another boy chimed in, unable to contain himself. "But teacher, weren't you late as well?" Teacher Liang Hua, facing such widespread defiance for the first time in her career, trembled with rage. You're rebelling, aren't you? None of you in the 4th grade will listen to me. Is that it?" Looking at the indifferent faces of her 4th grade class, teacher Liang Hua was consumed by fury. "Fine, a worthless class like this. Who else will teach you besides me? Don't come begging me to come back." With that, she snatched up her teaching materials and stormed out. The classroom erupted in a cacophony of excited chatter, deliberately loud enough for teacher Liang Hua to hear. That old witch is finally gone. Chin-san, leaning against the window, watched teacher Liang Hua's face, a mixture of red and green, as she stalked past. A faint, mocking smile played on her lips. The scene shifted to the Liu family home. Lu Ming plopped down on the sofa next to his cousin, Fu Han-shuyan. "Hey, I have some big news about your future wife," he said excitedly. "Want to hear it?" Fu Han-shuyan's attention immediately snapped to Lu Ming. Anything concerning his beloved Sen always piqued his interest. Seeing Lu Ming pause dramatically, Fu Han-shuyan, well-versed in his cousin's antics, tossed him his car keys. "Out with it." Lu Ming's face lit up. He clutched the keys, as if afraid Fu Han-shuyan might change his mind. "Whoa, sweet ride. Sis-in-law-to-be must be really important to you, huh?" Having secured his prize, Lu Ming quickly recounted the day's events at school. "So, you know Liang Hua, San's English teacher? She's always butting heads with San. Remember last time, when San was clearly right? Well, that teacher actually tried to frame her for cheating." Fu Han-shuyan's eyes darkened. "Accused San of cheating?" he asked, his voice dangerously low. Sensing the rising tension, Lu Ming quickly backpedaled. "Hey, it's all sorted now. San proved she was innocent and even made Liang Hua apologize in front of the whole school." Lu Ming twirled the key around his index finger as he continued his story. Then, San got detention for being late, and everyone in her class followed her lead. Teacher Lianghua was so furious, she ran to the administration office to complain. She even said she'd never teach English to San's 4th grade class again. But, the 4th grade is the worst class, so I doubt anyone else will want to teach them English anyway. Fu Han Shuyan listened intently, his chin resting on his hand, a thoughtful expression on his face as he absorbed Lu Ming's words. He abruptly stood up and snatched the car keys from Lu Ming's hand, leaving the younger boy stunned. "What's wrong? Fu Han Shuyan?" he stammered. Fu Han Shuyan's face darkened. "Lu Ming, you haven't even told me about Sam being falsely accused of cheating. I should be dealing with you for that, not letting you have my car." "You could dream on." Lu Ming slumped onto the sofa, defeated, tears welling in his eyes. "My car," he whimpered. Meanwhile, Fu Han Shuyan, enraged that someone dared to wrong his beloved San, quickly grabbed his phone and contacted his assistant. "Assistant Lin, I need you to investigate Liang Hua from Hatan City High School. I want all the information you can get on her. The sooner, the better." His voice was laced with authority as he continued. "Also, I want to join Hatan City High School as an English teacher for the 3rd and 4th grades." "Arrange it." Assistant Lin worked with remarkable efficiency. In less than a day, he had fulfilled Fu Han Shuyan's requests. The next day, a notice appeared on the bulletin board at Chin San School, announcing the arrival of a new teacher. Countless students gathered around, whispering amongst themselves. "Wow, the 4th grade is getting a new English teacher. They're so lucky. I heard he's a young teacher who graduated from D-Do University." "Oh, really? That's so impressive." Meanwhile, Teacher Liang Hua's face was thunderous. How did they find a new teacher so quickly? Which idiot would agree to teach such a terrible class? As Teacher Liang Hua stormed back to the staff room to investigate, she overheard voices from inside. "Haha, that's hilarious." Liang Hua actually thought no one would teach the 4th grade if she left. Inside, a female teacher and a male teacher were deep in discussion. "I can't believe a D-Do University graduate came here looking for a job. This is a real slap in the face for Liang Hua." The male teacher chimed in. "You can say that again." Liang Hua thinks she's so great. If it weren't for her connections, Ms. Tran would have the 1st grade homeroom position. Teacher Liang Hua, blinded by rage, flung open the door and pointed accusingly at the 2 teachers inside. "Li Wenlo, Tran Thursday Tuk, you 2 are unbelievable. Gossiping vipers." Ms. Tran stood up, her face flushed with anger. "Well, since we're being honest, I'll tell you straight. I've disliked you for a long time. If you want to use your connections against me, go ahead and do whatever you want. I don't even want this job anymore." Mr. Li added firmly, "Liang Hua, I feel the same as Delo. Do whatever you want with us." Consumed by fury, Teacher Liang Hua let slip a crucial detail. "Fine, just you wait. I'll have Truck Sin deal with you." Hearing the name Truck Sin, both Mr. Li and Ms. Tran froze, their eyes wide with shock. "Truck Sin?" Ms. Tran asked, her voice sharp. "Are you talking about Doi Truck Sin, the head of the academic office?" Realizing her slip-up, Teacher Liang Hua clapped a hand over her mouth, frantically denying, No, it's not like that." But her expression betrayed her words. Ms. Tran chuckled, relishing having caught the haughty Liang Hua off guard. "Come on, Liang Hua, there's no use denying it. Your reaction says it all. But I am curious about one thing. The head of the department is already married, isn't he? Are you really his mistress?" Mr. Li pressed his advantage, determined to see this through. "Liang Hua, if you're really the head's mistress, we'll report you to his wife. If she makes a fuss, both you and the head will be fired." Teacher Liang Hua now understood the true meaning of despair. Terror gripped her as her secret was exposed. You all," she stammered, the air thick with tension. Just then, Ms. Lam entered, sensing the strange atmosphere. "What's going on here?" she asked. Mr. Li and Ms. Tran approached Ms. Lam, eager to mend bridges. "Ms. Lam, we're truly sorry. We were wrong before. We won't mock you anymore." Mr. Li added, "That's right, Ms. Lam. We were blinded. We won't praise incompetent teachers like, anymore." Seeing the 3 of them united, Liang Hua crumpled the paper in her hand, fury burning in her eyes. She blamed Chin San for everything. "Chin San, just you wait," she seethed. Moments later, the bell rang, signaling the start of class. "Aring, Aring, Aring." Even from outside, the excited whispers of the 4th grade class could be heard. "I heard our new English teacher graduated from the Imperial University. He's here. He's here." He's coming. Fu Han Shuyan, impeccably dressed, strode into the classroom. He stood at the podium, his presence commanding attention. "Hello, everyone," he announced. "My surname is Fu. You can call me Mr. Fu." His handsome features captivated the class, sparking a wave of admiration. "Wow, oh my God, am I dreaming? Is he really not a celebrity? How can someone be so incredibly handsome?" His gaze softened as he addressed Chin San. "The top scorer on this exam will be the English class representative." Chin San, startled, looked up, a mixture of surprise and suspicion in her eyes. "Fu Han Shuyan, what is he doing here?" she wondered. Her desk mate, eyes sparkling with hearts, seemed to read her mind. "San," she gushed, "I bet he's here because of you. Your brother really loves you. I wish I had a brother like you." Chin San blushed, her heart fluttering. "Did he really come here for me?" Fu Han Shuyan walked down the aisle, handing out exam papers to the students in the front row to distribute to the rest of the class. "We'll start with a test to assess everyone's level," he explained. He walked towards Chin San, and as he approached, she straightened up, suddenly nervous. As he passed her, he leaned down and whispered, San, come to my office after class." She blushed again, softly replying, "Okay." The class ended quickly. As promised, Chin San went to his office. He affectionately made her a cup of tea. San, he said, offering it to her, "Have some tea." Chin San accepted the cup of tea, her fingers tightening around it unconsciously. Curiosity gnawed at her. "Deputy Fu," she asked, "why did you decide to teach here?" She couldn't help but recall that in her previous life, he hadn't become a teacher at Hatan City High School. He leaned closer, his gaze deep and intense. "Because of you," he replied. Chin San was taken aback by his directness, a blush warming her cheeks as she struggled to find a response. "Because of me?" she echoed softly. He reached out, his touch gentle as he stroked her hair. His voice, tender and reserved only for her, filled the air. "I didn't want my San to be bullied by anyone at school, so I came here." His words melted the icy shell around her heart, filling her with a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. A genuine smile touched her lips. "Thank you, Deputy Fu." No matter how others treated her, Deputy Fu and Uncle Six always showed her genuine kindness. He smiled, his voice a comforting balm. "What's there to thank me for, San? Remember, you always have me. If you're ever bullied again, don't endure it alone, understand?" She looked up at him, her eyes wide and innocent, filled with gratitude. "Yes, I understand." As if remembering something important, he suddenly asked, "Oh, right, are the results for the Tanhoi competition out yet?" She leaned back in her chair, anticipation shimmering in her eyes. "They should be out tonight." The scene shifted to the Chin family home. Night had fallen. At the dinner table, Mrs. Chin fussed over Chin Nu, piling food onto her plate. "Nuni, after tonight, you'll be qualified to participate in the Tanhoi competition. Congratulations in advance. Eat up." Despite the smugness bubbling inside her, Chin Nu feigned innocence. "Mom, the results aren't out yet." Mrs. Chin, her faith in Chin Nu unwavering, continued, "You're a student of Kai Van Thatch, one of the most renowned painting masters in the country. If you don't qualify, who in Hatan City could?" Mr. Chin chimed in, "Ni, if you win this competition, I'll give you a reward." Chin Nu, brimming with confidence, replied, "Thank you, Mom and Dad." Just then, her phone rang, announcing the results. With an air of eager anticipation, she answered, "Hello." Mrs. Chin, equally anxious, pressed, "Well, did you get first place?" Contrary to their expectations, Chin Nu's face paled as she heard the news. Her hand clenched around the phone. "First place is San?" She thought, bewildered. "But who is this San?" After the call, the realization that she hadn't won first place sent a wave of panic through her. Unsure how to face her parents, she quickly concocted a performance, tears welling in her eyes as she sobbed. "Mom, I didn't pass the painting competition. I'm so sorry. I've disappointed you both, haven't I?" Mrs. Chin, instantly moved by her daughter's tears, rushed to comfort her. "Nuni, it's all right. It's just a painting competition. If you didn't get in, you didn't get in, so don't cry anymore. We don't care." Mr. Chin, sitting beside them, massaged his temples, a headache brewing. He inwardly cursed his premature boasting. He had bragged to his friends that Nuni would win. Now, she hadn't even qualified. It was a slap in the face. The atmosphere hung heavy with silence when Chin Nu's phone rang. It was Teacher Chi. As soon as she answered, his reproachful voice crackled through the speaker. "Didn't you change the painting as I asked? Why were you still disqualified?" Chin Nu's voice was small, defeated. "I'm so sorry, teacher. I don't know why it turned out this way. A flicker of calculation in her eyes. She feigned innocent curiosity. Teacher, do you know who this person is? I heard she was ranked first, but is she really that good? Teacher Chi paused. You mean she might have cheated? All right, Nu. Tomorrow you and I will go to the painting association. I'll inquire about the situation. Early the next morning, Chi Nu and Teacher Chi Wonshur arrived at the painting association. Wu Jian, the manager, greeted Chi Wonshur with a bright, if superficial, smile. To what do I owe the pleasure of your visit, Mr. Chi? Chi Wonshur adopted a stern expression, his voice laced with accusation. The winner of our city's youth association competition is an unknown newcomer. I'm curious to know what about her paintings caught your attention, Manager Wu. Wu Jian understood the implication. His gaze flickered towards Chi Nu before he smoothly changed the subject. Perhaps Mr. Chi is here seeking justice for his student? Chi Wonshur placed a hand on Chi Nu's shoulder, his voice firm. Precisely. I believe my student's skill surpasses that of any newcomer. Chi Nu dutifully dipped her head in a polite greeting to Wu Jian. Wu Jian didn't make things difficult. Very well. If your student is as talented as you say, I'll make room for her. Chi Nu quickly presented her iPad, displaying her artwork. Please take a look. Wu Jian settled into his chair and offered his critique after studying the piece. This painting does depict the grief of a mother who has lost her child. However, the sorrow feels superficial. The eyes don't convey any real emotion. Furthermore, Mr. Chi's student seems overly focused on technique. The rigid lines expose more flaws than they conceal. Chi Nu stood behind them, her face alternating between pale and flushed as she listened. Chi Wonshur seethed inwardly. He was a renowned master, and this man dared to disparage his student right in front of him, showing him no respect. Wu Jian handed the iPad back to Chi Wonshur, adding, "This painting is quite good compared to others in her age group, but it's not outstanding enough for the Youth Association competition." Chi Wonshur crossed his arms, his face a mask of displeasure. "Then I'd like to see just how good this rising star is," he said, his tone tight. He thought to himself, San is just a nobody. Nu has my guidance. How could she be worse than this, San? Wu Jian, unfazed, turned his monitor to display Qin San's painting. This is her work. See for yourself. Chi Wonshur stared at the painting, speechless. It depicted the scene with stark realism, leaving no room for criticism. Wu Jian chuckled softly and asked, "Well, Mr. Chi, do you find San's painting superior to your students?" Chi Wonshur leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly, still unwilling to concede. "This painting, even I must admire it. It's enough to stun the entire art world. But she's just a high school senior. How could she have such experience and depth? I suspect she might have hired someone to paint it for her." Convinced of his own theory, Chi Wonshur's voice rose. "I believe that if a contestant has such poor character, once discovered, the association's reputation will be ruined. Therefore, I propose disqualifying San and publicly exposing her fraudulent behavior." Wu Jian's patience had reached its limit. He said calmly, "Mr. Chi, accusations require evidence." Chi Wonshur slammed his hand on the table in frustration. It seems you're determined to protect this, San, aren't you? Very well. Don't come to regret this later, Wu Jian. Just then, Old Six entered, overhearing the heated exchange. His face stern, he boomed, "Protect whom?" Seeing Old Six, Wu Jian rose and bowed respectfully. "Old Six, you've arrived." Chi Wonshur, still indignant, immediately complained, "This level of skill isn't something someone her age could achieve. We don't need evidence. It's obvious she submitted someone else's work." Old Six gazed at the painting, a look of profound satisfaction spreading across his face. Stroking his beard, he praised, "Excellent, excellent. This is the most beautiful painting I've ever seen. Even an old man like me is astonished. Through this painting, I can see the artist poured emotions of sorrow, pain, and regret into their work. This San is truly a genius among geniuses." Unrelenting, Chi Wonshur turned to Old Six. "What do you think? Someone her age couldn't possibly paint at this level." Old Six snorted softly. "Just because you lack the skill doesn't mean others can't achieve it." Chi Wonshur's face twisted in displeasure at the rebuke. "Old Six, I thought you despised cheating above all else. It seems that's not the case." Chi Nu, standing behind them, fell into deep thought. This isn't just protecting San. Old Six was not one to back down. unfazed by the accusations. His eyes swept over them with a chilling glare. Are you questioning me? Do you have the right? His voice resonated with authority. I stake my years of integrity and fairness on this. My students at 6 Chinese painting school don't need to cheat. I'm willing to wager my reputation. If there's any problem with San's work, I'll leave the art world. Old Six's words hung in the air, leaving Qi Wenshi speechless and unable to formulate a retort. Wu Jian, standing off to the side, stroked his chin thoughtfully. Old Six had never taken on a student before. Why break tradition now for this San? Wu Jian, a man of integrity himself, quickly sided with Old Six. Master Six's reputation precedes him. I naturally trust his judgment. He turned to Qi Wenshi, his tone dismissive. Mr. Qi, this small temple of mine cannot accommodate a great Buddha such as yourself. Please, you and your companion leave. Dismissed so bluntly, Qi Wenshi could only swallow his indignation and turn to go. Let's go, he muttered, his face burning with humiliation. He felt utterly defeated. His reputation was in tatters. Qi Nu, however, lingered. She approached Wu Jian, feigning a timid curiosity. Manager Wu, she began, her head bowed slightly. Could you tell me this person's full name? Fearing refusal, she quickly added a flimsy excuse. I just want to know who she is so I can ask for some advice. The image of Qin San flashed through her mind, a flicker of fear in her heart. San? Could it be her? She thought. No, it couldn't be such a coincidence. It can't be the San I know. Wu Jian crossed his arms, immediately refusing. Absolutely not. Mr. Qi just accused San of cheating. He's your teacher, and you want advice from her? That would be a slap in his face. Qi Nu flinched at his words, beads of sweat prickling her skin. She glanced nervously behind her. Teacher, no, I didn't mean it like that. Qi Wenshi's already dark expression deepened. Let's go, he barked. Old Six, still seated, offered his unvarnished opinion. He's not a good painter, he said of Qi Wenshi, and he's jealous and petty. He doesn't even have a good eye for talent. Like teacher, like student. Qi Wenshi couldn't bear to hear anymore. The humiliation was unbearable. Without waiting for Qi Nu, he spun on his heel and stormed out. Qi Nu hurried after him. Teacher, she called, catching up to him outside. Qi Wenshi, his face a mask of fury, stopped and confronted her. What you said in there, was it because you don't like me? Do you think Master Six at the Chinese painting school is better than me? Do you want to be a student? Qi Nu put on her most innocent face, clutching her chest dramatically. No, teacher, I was just curious who she was. I had a feeling I might know her. Honestly, teacher, I don't dislike you at all. Qi Wenshi cut her off with brutal honesty. Well, I don't think you have a talent. You're like mud that won't stick to the wall. No matter how much I teach you, it's useless. Outwardly, Qi Nu adopted a pitiful demeanor, lowering her eyes and remaining silent under Qi Wenshi's criticism. Inwardly, however, her arrogance simmered. My talent is obviously superior, you old fool, she seethed. If you were as good as Master Six, how could I be worse than this, San? Suddenly, she heard Wu Jian's voice. Master Six, take care. She quickly glanced over to see what was happening. Across the way, Wu Jian was seeing Old Six off to his car. Watching the luxurious vehicle depart, Qi Nu began calculating. There were only 5 limited edition cars like that in the world. If she remembered correctly, this one was worth over 50 million, while Qi Wenshi's car was only worth a few million. Old Six held a very high position in the painting world and was incredibly wealthy. Qi Wenshi couldn't compare. A calculating glint entered Qi Nu's eyes. If she could become Old Six student, she would surely become even more skilled. The next day, as scheduled, Fu Hanxian arrived early to pick up Qin San for their trip to the amusement park. As she got into the car, pride swelled in his eyes. Congratulations on entering the painting world, he said. Qin San responded modestly. Thank you, Mr. Fu. Fu Hanxian, overflowing with affection, leaned closer to fasten her seatbelt. The proximity caused Qin San's face to flush crimson. This is too close, she thought, and murmured, Mr. Fu. Unable to contain his surging emotions, he gently kissed her cheek. Startled by his own actions, he remembered she had been about to say something. He uttered. Qin San's blush deepened, and she shyly turned her face away. Seeing her embarrassed demeanor, Fu Hanxian chuckled softly. Deciding not to tease her further, Fu Hanxian started the car. Noticing they were taking an unfamiliar route, Qin Sin asked, "Mr. Fu, where are we going?" He replied succinctly, "To the amusement park." With a look that was 3 parts affectionate and 7 parts indulgent, he glanced at her. "I'm taking you out for some fun today." They quickly arrived at the bustling amusement park in the city center. Their first ride was the roller coaster. Qin San seemed incredibly excited while he sat beside her, watching with an expression of pure enjoyment. Qin San closed her eyes, spreading her arms wide to embrace the rush of air. Next, she moved on to another ride, letting her body fall freely through the air. She imagined herself as a small bird, soaring freely through the sky. Lost in the thrill of the moment, she hadn't realized she had been clutching his hand. Fu Hanxian was inwardly elated. He was immensely pleased with how the day was unfolding. After enjoying a variety of rides, she was thoroughly satisfied and ready to head back. Looking at her face, radiant with a springtime vibrancy, he felt a surge of emotion. San is truly unique. She didn't scream and shriek like other girls. Instead, she relaxed and savored the experience. My little San is truly special. He paused to gently wipe the beads of sweat from her forehead. "How about it?" he asked indulgently. "Want to go on another ride?" She didn't hesitate. "Of course," she replied, thinking to herself, "Only when I'm on these thrilling rides do I truly feel free. I don't have to worry about my past memories." Seeing her eager expression, he couldn't bring himself to refuse. "All right, one last ride, and then we'll go home." Qin San's choice for their final adventure, the haunted house. In front of the haunted house stood a young couple. The girl was clinging to her boyfriend, sobbing uncontrollably. "I don't want to go in. It's too scary." The boy tried to comfort her. There, it's all right, baby." Observing the girl's fear, Fu Hanxian looked curiously at Qin San, thinking, surely San will be scared this time. He thought for a moment, then firmly grasped her hand, as if to give her courage against her fear. Startled by his sudden grip, she looked at him with confusion in her eyes. "Fu Hanxian," she asked, "what's wrong?" He intertwined his long fingers with hers, his voice a low murmur in the darkness. "Hold my hand so you don't get lost." Understanding dawned on her, and she didn't resist. "Okay," she agreed softly. And so, hand in hand, they stepped into the haunted house. Ahead of them, another couple was also making their way through the attraction. On the left wall, countless lifelike faces stared unblinkingly at the 4 of them. Eerie wails echoed through the pitch-black corridor. "Help me. It's you. You kill me. I will come back for you. You're all going to die. Pay with your lives." "Wah, I want to get out. Someone get me out of here." The couple in front trembled. The young man didn't even dare open his eyes. "Oh my God, this is terrifying," he whimpered. Suddenly, a staff member in costume, with glowing red eyes and long, sharp fingernails, lunged towards them. The girl in the pink dress shrieked and clung to her boyfriend. Fu Hanxian quickly pulled Qin San back. Seeing the girl's terror, a flicker of anticipation crossed his mind. This time, he thought, San will definitely jump into my arms. He pictured the scene he'd been longing for. Qin San, weak and vulnerable, running to him for comfort. "Fu Hanxian, I'm so scared," she cried. He would soothe her. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." But reality didn't unfold as he'd imagined. When the ghost appeared before her, Qin San didn't flinch. She remained unfazed, even meeting the ghost's gaze directly. Fu Hanxian stared, bewildered by this unexpected turn of events. Feigning alarm, he asked, San, aren't you scared?" She looked at him, completely unperturbed. "They're just people," she replied matter-of-factly. "It's just makeup and lighting. What's there to be afraid of?" Silence descended after her words. No one dared to speak. Everyone stared at her as if she were an alien. The costumed actor, thoroughly spooked, scurried into a nearby crate, muttering, "Good heavens, this one's immune. I'd better stay put in here." Fu Hanxian was utterly speechless. He rubbed his forehead in exasperation, sighing inwardly. "When will San ever understand my feelings?" Noticing the late hour, he asked with concern, "Are you hungry?" "A little," she admitted. "All right, let me take you to dinner then." After their meal, attentive to her every feeling, he inquired, "Did you enjoy the food?" Qin San, not a picky eater, replied cheerfully, "It was delicious. Thank you, Fu Hanxian." The sight of them walking hand in hand was witnessed by one of Qin San's classmates. Burning with jealousy, the classmate thought, is Fu Hanxian really Qin San's brother? Judging by their behavior, they look more like lovers. They even went into a hotel together. Only a fool would believe there's nothing going on between them. Consumed by envy, she quickly snapped a photo of the pair. Consumed by envy, She wondered why, despite both hailing from the countryside, Chin-san could so easily find such a high-quality man, one who even drove a luxurious car. A cunning expression spread across her face as she sneered at the photo on her phone. I might not be able to deal with Chin-san, she thought, but that doesn't mean I can't deal with Chin-nu. Acting on her impulse, she quickly sent the photo to Chin-nu, along with a subtly suggestive message. "Nu, I just saw Chin-san leaving a hotel with her brother. If I didn't know they were siblings, I would have thought they were a sweet couple. They really look good together." After sending it, she reveled in the brilliance of her scheme. That idiot Chin-nu will definitely take the bait and deal with Chin-san. At the Chin family villa, Fu Hanxian had just driven Chin-san home. Before she got out of the car, he handed her a gift bag. "San-san, this is for you. Consider it a reward for winning the city's art competition." She seemed surprised by the gift, but accepted it with a smile. She picked it up and discovered a blue notebook inside. Fu Hanxian eagerly explained, "San-san, the notes inside are a summary of the university entrance exams from recent years. And, of course, what might be on the exam itself." Chin-san felt a bead of sweat trickle down her forehead. "This is..." She trailed off, understanding dawning. She didn't elaborate, realizing Fu Hanxian likely assumed her grades weren't good and wanted to help. A wave of warmth washed over her. "Oh well," she thought, "only Brother Fu would be this kind to me." Clutching the gift to her chest, Chin-san smiled and said, "Thank you, Brother Fu." Seeing her sweet demeanor, he affectionately ruffled her hair. "It's my pleasure to help you." Their tender exchange was unwittingly witnessed by Chin-nu, who stood watching from an upstairs window. Her face contorted in a grimace of anger, and she gritted her teeth. "Chin-san," she seethed, "why did you have to come back? Why are you always trying to compete with me? Why do you always want to steal what I like?" Chin-nu slammed her hand against the window pane. "What's so good about Chin-san anyway? Fu Hanxian, a renowned CEO, is willing to be a lowly English teacher for her." A flicker of avarice sparked in her eyes as she began to fantasize about Fu Hanxian. A manipulative smile played on her lips. "But as long as I become old Six's disciple, as long as I become better, Fu Hanxian will definitely notice me. As long as he looks at me, I will definitely keep him by my side." Chin-nu closed her eyes, lost in her ambitious daydreams. Monday, in the teacher's lounge. Seeing Ms. Lianghua push open the door, the two teachers already present began to taunt her. "Oh, look who finally decided to grace us with her presence. Huh, isn't that right? She's always the last to arrive and the first to leave. And with such powerful backing, who in our school is more renowned than her?" Ms. Lianghua's face darkened at their jibes. "You're being outrageous," she snapped. The other teachers, determined not to let the matter drop, continued to voice their long-suppressed grievances. "Lianghua, who are you trying to scare? You think we'll still fawn over you like we used to? Let me tell you, now it's your turn to curry favor with us. If we were to reveal your relationship with him, do you think you'd be able to keep your teaching position? And would he be able to keep his position as head of the training department?" Ms. Lianghua finally understood fear. Her whole body trembled, partly from fright, partly from suppressed rage. Forcing herself to grovel, she stammered, "I apologize. It was my fault. I shouldn't have spoken so harshly to everyone." The other teacher, seeing her capitulation, felt a surge of satisfaction. Wouldn't it have been better to do this from the start, he thought smugly. Ms. Lianghua sat down, still seething with resentment. Damn them. Just then, a knock came at the teacher's lounge door. Lu Ming stood outside. Ms. Lianghua, plastering a smile on her face, rose to greet him. "Lu Ming, what brings you to the teacher's lounge?" Lu Ming, hands shoved in his pockets, spoke with an air of serious intent. "I want to transfer classes." The other two teachers exchanged glances, eager for the unfolding drama. Ms. Lianghua, though inwardly fuming at the request, fought to maintain composure. "Lu Ming," she asked, "are you sure? Isn't Class 1 treating you well?" Her mind raced. If one of the top 3 students left her class, her reputation, not to mention her bonus, would be in tatters. Lu Ming, unwilling to waste words, declared, "Yes. I'm just informing you. My decision is final. I'll discuss the details with the head of the year level." Ms. Lianghua, witnessing his unwavering resolve, snapped. Lu Ming, this school isn't your personal playground. You can't just transfer on a whim. Lu Ming's face hardened. Leaning in, he spoke low enough for only her to hear. Ms. Liang, I know about you and the head of the training department. I suggest you don't do anything foolish. Ms. Liang Hua recoiled, fear gripping her. Curse it, how did someone else find out? Seeing the power shift in Lu Ming's favor, the other teachers chimed in. Lu Ming, which class are you thinking of transferring to? Would you consider Class 3? One offered. The other, not to be outdone, suggested. Or Class 2? You're always welcome there. Ms. Liang Hua, desperate, interjected. Surely you're not considering Class 4? The students there are unruly. It's quite a disruptive environment. But Lu Ming's next words stunned the teachers into silence. Actually, that's exactly where I'm going. Class 4. With that, he turned and walked out of the teacher's lounge. Ms. Liang Hua's face flushed crimson. Humiliated, she avoided their gazes. The other teachers, barely containing their amusement, taunted her. Well, Ms. Liang, what do you think of that? Surprised? Huh. It's true. You see all sorts of things in this profession. First time I've seen a student transfer from Class 1 to Class 4, especially right before the university entrance exams. Faced with their mockery, Ms. Liang Hua, utterly defeated, couldn't muster a retort. Gathering her papers, she mumbled an excuse and fled. I have to get a class. Lu Ming, arms laden with textbooks, walked down the hallway when he bumped into his cousin. He greeted him cheerfully. Fu Hanxian, looking at his cousin with a stern expression, replied, I haven't seen you in Class 4 before. Class is about to start. You should get back to your own classroom. Lu Ming, stung by the unfamiliar formality, cried internally. Wah, am I not his favorite cousin anymore? Putting on a brave face, he responded brightly. I've transferred to Class 4. I'll be in the same class as Qin San now. Fu Hanxuan's eyes narrowed, sharp as lightning, fixing on Lu Ming, who flinched under his gaze and quickly retreated. Strange, Lu Ming thought. Why do I feel a murderous aura? My head aches just thinking about it. He rubbed his temples. That girl is so talented. It's inevitable she'll have a lot of admirers. Looks like I'll have to keep an eye on her, or someone else will snatch her up. Lu Ming, seemingly having read his older cousin's mind, piped up, Hey cousin, if I transfer to Class 4, I can take better care of my future sister-in-law. I won't let a single hair on her head get harmed. Fu Hanxian stopped abruptly, his voice a stern warning. Stay away from Qin San. Fearing his cousin's disobedience, he added a threat. Don't make me tell Grandpa, or your allowance will vanish for 2 months. Also, remember, we have no relationship at school. Don't act familiar with me. With that, he strode resolutely into the classroom. I'm here to protect San. I don't need another person getting in my way. Lu Ming, watching his cousin's retreating figure, misinterpreted the situation. My cousin is jealous. I didn't think he was capable of such earthly desires. I thought he was going to become a monk. Thank goodness. The dismissal bell rang. Qin San's desk mate nudged her. San, look, your guy is here for you. She stood up and looked at Fu Hanxian questioningly. Mr. Fu, is something the matter? He smiled, his eyes filled with a tenderness reserved only for her. Yes, Grandpa wants to see you. Let's go home together. He took her school bag from her. All right, let's go. She happily agreed and followed him. Her desk mate, having just witnessed this sweet exchange, sighed dreamily. Wow, they're really a perfect match. Qin San had just entered the house and politely greeted, Hello, Grandpa, when suddenly fireworks erupted. To her surprise, Grandpa beamed and announced cheerfully, Tada, happy birthday. Qin San felt the depth of his affection, her heart overflowing with warmth and emotion, tinged with nostalgia for her past life. After Grandpa had passed away in her previous life, she had stopped celebrating her birthday. Yet, every year on that day, she would receive a gift, and signed and with no return address. Tears welled up in her eyes amidst the joy. She rushed forward and hugged him tightly. Thank you, Grandpa. He gently patted her back. There, good girl. He affectionately stroked her hair. Fu Hanxian, observing this heartwarming scene, didn't want to interrupt. He hadn't initially wanted Grandpa to make such a fuss, but now it seemed rather perfect, as long as she was happy. Noticing the tears on her face, he gently wiped them away. Mister, Fu, what's wrong? Fu Hanxian, masking his feelings, casually removed a stray piece of paper from her hair. Oh, there was a piece of paper in your hair. I just wanted to take it out for you. He held it up to his nose and added a seemingly irrelevant comment. It smells nice. His casual remark sent Qin San's heart racing. What's wrong with me? Why will my heart calm down? Could this be the fluttering of the heart everyone talks about? San, this is a birthday present Grandpa prepared for you. Take a look and see if you like it. He handed it to her. Chin-san unrolled the scroll, a wave of nostalgia washing over her. Thank you, Grandpa. I love it, she thought to herself. It's exactly the same as the painting Grandpa gave me in my past life. Grandpa 6, observing Chin-san's demeanor, felt a surge of warmth in his chest. Good, he thought, a pleased smile playing on his lips. I like this. This unreserved, comfortable air about her, not a trace of shyness. Not like those others who put on such a show when they receive a gift. At that moment, Lu Ming bounced into the room, a basketball tucked under his arm. I'm home. He cast a cursory glance at the painting, his brow furrowing in confusion. Grandpa, what's this? Grandpa 6 waved a dismissive hand. Nothing to concern yourself with. As Lu Ming took a closer look at the painting, his eyes widened in disbelief. He pointed, a note of incredulity in his voice. Grandpa, isn't this your most prized possession? I remember someone offered you $200 million for it, but you flat out refused to sell. I pestered you for over a month, and you wouldn't even consider it. What made you change your mind? Grandpa 6 looked at his grandson, a mischievous glint in his eye. Giving it to San is a different matter entirely. Lu Ming's face fell. Grandpa, he grumbled, if someone didn't know better, they'd think Chin-san was your real granddaughter. The old man simply chuckled, letting the comment slide. He moved towards the birthday cake, already prepared, and lit the candles. Once they were flickering merrily, he gestured to Chin-san. Come, San, blow out the candles and make a wish. With a bright smile, she stepped forward, clasping her hands together and closing her eyes as she silently made her wish. Fu Hanxian, watching from the side, added, May all of San's wishes come true. Grandpa 6 handed her a cake knife. All right, San, let's cut the cake. Fu Hanxian surveyed the towering, multi-tiered confection, a hint of amusement in his eyes. It's going to take at least 20 minutes to get through this behemoth. He cast a playful glare at his grandfather, thinking, poor San, this is going to be a workout. Concerned that she might tire, he stepped closer. Here, let me do it. Grandpa 6, observing their easy interaction, felt a swell of satisfaction. Ah, he thought, this young man is showing some real promise. Still, he mused, San deserves to be pampered and treated like the little princess she is. Lu Ming, ever eager to participate, bounded over, wanting to help cut the cake as well, earning a subtle frown from Fu Hanxian. Fu Hanxian, thoroughly enjoying the opportunity to dote on Chin-san, gently reached out and wiped a stray smear of icing from her lip. The birthday celebration continued, bathed in the warm, convivial atmosphere shared between the four of them. After saying their goodbyes to Grandpa 6, Fu Hanxian escorted Chin-san to his car. With a thoughtful gesture, he produced a gift he had prepared earlier. Happy birthday, San. Inside the velvet-lined box was a sleek, modern watch, the latest model. I chose this especially for you. See if you like it. As she admired the watch, she noticed its striking resemblance to the one he wore on his wrist. Oh, she remarked, Mr. Fu, your watch looks just like this one. A flicker of nervousness crossed his features. Yes, he replied simply, his thoughts racing. I wanted to wear matching watches with her. I hope she doesn't mind. To his relief, her face lit up with a genuine smile. Thank you, Mr. Fu. I love it. The tension eased from his shoulders. Here, let me put it on for you. He carefully fastened the watch around her wrist. Sensitive to her feelings, he offered words of comfort. San, he said softly, even though the Chin family isn't celebrating your birthday, you have me and Grandpa here. You don't need to give them a second thought. He took her hand in his grip firm and reassuring, as if to convey the warmth of family and belonging. She returned the pressure of his hand, understanding his unspoken message. Just having you all is enough. I don't care about them. He looked at her, his gaze searching. San, he asked, when are you going to leave the Chin family? I won't hide it, Chin-san said frankly. It's probably soon. I'm an adult now, and there are some things I can decide for myself. Fu Hanxian asked, do you need my help? Chin-san gently refused. No need. I can handle this myself. Faced with her firmness, Fu Hanxian could only sigh inwardly. His San seemed almost too capable, leaving him feeling slightly inadequate. I should just be her support, he thought. After bidding him farewell, she calmly entered the house. A servant approached as soon as she stepped inside. Miss, the late grandfather/master of the house, and Madam have gone to the hotel to hold a birthday party for Miss Suruo. Chin-san's heart chilled at the news. She sidestepped the servant, leaving behind a nonchalant, understood. Sitting at her computer, her deft fingers began to dance across the keyboard. It was time to start planning the next step in her career. Looking at the information on the screen, a slight smile played on her lips. The Chin Corporation was facing a serious crisis due to pressure from rival companies. It had reached a point of being out of control. Her plan was to appear at this juncture and rescue them. With that thought, she sent an email to the other party. I will arrive at your company at 6 p.m. tomorrow. If you want to completely resolve this crisis, meet me. On the other side, Chun Twin froze after receiving the message, seemingly unable to believe his eyes. This was the company's internal email. How did this person know it? Chin Twin's brows furrowed in thought. After a moment, he typed a reply. Who are you, and why do you want to help me? Chin Twin waited for over 10 minutes, but received no response. He held his head, half believing, half doubting. No reply. Does this person really have a solution? Despite his skepticism, Chun Twin clung to the hope that there might be a way out, so he waited for Chin-san as scheduled. The longer he waited, the more anxious he became, constantly checking his watch. It was almost 6 o'clock, and no one had arrived. Could this person be playing a trick on me? Precisely at 6 o'clock, a pair of feet slowly stepped into Chun Corporation. Chun Twin looked over and saw a very young-looking student. He asked tentatively, "Young lady, are you looking for me?" Chun Twin was skeptical. A student? Surely she isn't the one I'm waiting for. Facing his doubt, Chin-san proactively extended her hand and introduced herself, dispelling his uncertainty. Hello, Director Chun. I'm the one who sent you the email last night. Director Chun had initially hoped someone could save his company, but upon seeing her, he felt deflated and resigned. It seemed the email was just a little girl's prank. He couldn't take it seriously. But it's ridiculous that I actually believed it, he thought ruefully, and even pinned my last hopes on that email. That's the real kicker. He shook his head, dismissing the idea, and put a hand on Chin-san's shoulder to guide her away. Little girl, you should go home. Don't play these malicious games. I don't have time to play with you. Her expression turned serious. Director Chun, she said with utmost gravity, even if you used all your time, could you solve it? Your methods during this period have only worsened the company's situation. But letting things get worse isn't your style, is it? She looked directly into Director Chin's eyes, her voice confident. Give me a little time, and I'll convince you to do things my way. Director Chun was surprised to find his resolve wavering under Chin-san's words. He agreed, gesturing towards his office. All right then, let's go inside and talk. He thought to himself, a little time is really nothing, and if she truly has a way, then the company might be saved. Chin-san didn't beat around the bush. Before outlining her strategy, she stated, I have one condition. Director Chin nodded slightly. If your method is effective, I will make sure you're satisfied. She then voiced a request. Help me deal with the Chin Corporation's real estate holdings. Director Chin looked a little troubled. Our real estate development at Chin Corporation is still limited. We haven't focused on it as much as Chin Corporation. I'm afraid we're far behind them. Chin-san leaned back in her chair, her voice brimming with the confidence of a victor. Don't worry, I'll give you the opportunity to develop Chin Corporation's real estate. And of course, this time, your real estate sector will surpass Chin Corporation's. Director Chin couldn't quite believe it. He kept the next thought to himself, a wry chuckle echoing internally. Surpassing the Chin family to become the leader in real estate in such a short time? That's simply preposterous. Knowing he wasn't entirely convinced, Chin-san handed him a stack of documents. Director Chun, please take a look at my plan. Director Chun had barely glanced at the first page when a spark seemed to ignite in his eyes. He proceeded to read meticulously, not missing a single word. 10 minutes later, he finally finished. Did you really write this all by yourself? He asked, filled with admiration. The logic is clear. The idea is concise, yet comprehensive. If I hadn't been in this industry for 35 years, I certainly wouldn't be able to write such an outstanding report. How old is this young lady to have achieved something so incredible? Chin-san smiled faintly. It doesn't matter who wrote it, Director Chun, as long as it works. Didn't I say so? If you agree, please sign. I'll provide you with 90 million in capital. Hearing this staggering figure, Director Chun didn't hesitate to sign the contract. Sign? Of course, I'll sign. With the first step of her plan complete, Chin-san didn't show any arrogance. She maintained her calm composure. Then, happy cooperation. Before leaving, she offered a thoughtful reminder. Oh, and one more thing. Your company's firewall is rather weak. I suspect one of the reasons your company is facing this crisis is due to internal data theft, but I can help you reinforce it, ensuring no hacker in the world can penetrate it. She paused for a few seconds before continuing. Of course, not even I could. Director Chun, a man of experience, immediately asked, "What are your conditions?" Chin-san was clearly at ease cooperating with someone as astute as him. "I want 10 million. Of course, I can wait until you've overcome this crisis before you pay." "All right," he agreed. "If it's truly as you say, I agree." Chin-san didn't linger. After a brief farewell, she promptly left. Director Chen opened the report again, unable to contain his excitement. "This report is brilliant. The company is truly saved." He quickly grabbed his phone and called his subordinate to delegate the task. From today onwards, the Public Relations Department will initiate self-destruction mode. We'll reveal everything, both our successes and our failures. The more severe, the better. The subordinate, receiving the order, asked incredulously, "Chairman, are you sure about this?" She wondered if her boss had lost his mind. Director Chan affirmed resolutely, "Just do as I say." The subordinate didn't dare question him further. "Yes, I understand." Meanwhile, at the Chin family home, old Madam Chin sat fuming in her chair. "Absolutely disgraceful, Lin Xuanya. Do you know there are 3 forms of unfilial piety in this world? The greatest of which is failing to produce an heir. Look at you, married to a Hai for 19 years, and you've only managed a daughter. Aren't you ashamed?" Old Madam Chin looked at her son sitting beside her and made a suggestion. "A Hai, if Lin Xuanya can't bear a son, then you should find another woman who can." Her voice took on a lecturing tone. "It's perfectly acceptable for a man, especially a successful one, to have a wife and a few mistresses on the side." Lin Xuanya felt as if struck by lightning. She trembled, sinking to the floor. "Mother, please don't." She projected all her pain onto Chin-san. "It's clear my health is fine, but after giving birth to Chin-san, I haven't been able to conceive again. Yes, it's all Chin-san's fault. She's a jinx. Ever since she was born, nothing has gone right. She even made me infertile." Chin-san, just entering the house, felt the oppressive atmosphere. Old Madam Chin frowned upon seeing her. Then, she walked over, took her hand, and asked, "Who are you?" Lin Xuanya quickly spoke up. "Mother, she's my daughter." Old Madam Chin's face darkened. She looked at her, questioning, "Your daughter? Isn't your daughter Chin Surua?" Chin Hai stammered, "Mother, it's like this." He then began to explain the situation to his mother. A moment later, the story was told. Old Madam Chin was not pleased. "So, you two are keeping an adopted child in the house?" Chin Hai could only reply, "Yes, mother. We've raised Ra for over 10 years, so we have feelings for her." Old Madam Chin was exasperated by her son's sentimentality. She fixed a cold gaze on Chin Surua. "And you? Shouldn't you know to leave the Chin family on your own accord?" Chin Surua hadn't expected such hostility from old Madam Chin. She didn't know how to respond. Surua, scheming internally, thought, "Father listens to Grandma. If I say I'll leave willingly now, I'll definitely be thrown out for sure." So, she remained silent. Old Madam Chin, a woman of experience, saw right through her. "Chin Surua, you can't bear to part with the comfortable life at the Chin family, can you?" Surua looked pleadingly at Lin Xuanya. "Mother, I didn't." Lin Xuanya rushed to her side, her heart aching for her adopted daughter. "Mother, Ruwa is her daughter. If she doesn't stay with the Chin family, where will she go? Besides, the fortune teller said she has the destiny of a phoenix. It's because of Ruwa that our Chin family has been so prosperous these past years." She then glared at her biological daughter. "I think Chin-san is the unlucky one. Ever since she returned, our Chin family's real estate ventures have constantly faced problems. 19 years ago, I couldn't give birth to a son, and it must have been because of Chin-san." Chin-san, hearing these words from her own mother's mouth, could only offer a cold, hollow laugh. Her explanation infuriated old Madam Chin. "Silence," she roared. "What era are we living in that you still spout such superstitious nonsense? Pushing all the blame onto a young girl, and your own daughter at that. Lin Xuanya, have you no shame? And then you dare to say it's her fault you haven't produced a son? I scoff at you. Couldn't you come up with a better excuse? Do you take me for a fool?" Chin-san was surprised to find someone in this house who spoke reason. Her opinion of the old woman rose slightly. "This grandmother unexpectedly has some sense," she thought. She turned to lecture her son, Qin Hai. Let me tell you, son, you must be clear about the Qin family bloodline. We absolutely cannot allow an outsider to infiltrate it. She looked at Qin Suo and began to speak pointedly. Some people shouldn't overreach. They should know their place. Qin Suo, the green tea, felt a prickle of unease. Yes, grandmother, she murmured, inwardly cursing the old woman. Why doesn't this old bat just kick the bucket already? Across from her, Qin San, having heard the whole exchange, folded her arms and fell into deep thought. No wonder Lin Xuanya and Qin Hai dote on Qin Suo so much. It turns out they believe she possesses the destiny of a phoenix and will bring benefits to the Qin family. Qin San's eyes turned icy as she looked at Qin Suo. Even if Qin Suo does have the destiny of a phoenix, in this life, I will change her fate. Old Madam Qin suddenly remembered something else. Oh, right, hi. Your younger brother encountered difficulties with his company a while back and resigned. You're his older brother. You can't just watch him sit at home worrying about work all day. A sense of foreboding washed over Lin Xuanya. She clenched her fists in a panic, thinking he absolutely cannot agree. If he does, Qin Wei will throw the entire company into chaos. But what she feared most came to pass. Qin Hai stood up, puffed out his chest, and declared, Mother, don't worry. I'll arrange for my younger brother to work at the company immediately. Old Madam Qin nodded in satisfaction and continued, and another thing. Your younger brother still doesn't have a place to live in the city, so I'm planning to go and stay with him. You can't just rent him a place outside, can you? Lin Xuanya, burning with anxiety, couldn't stay silent any longer. Isn't there a dormitory at the company? I can arrange a room for them in a large dormitory, and they can stay there. She thought to herself, I absolutely cannot let Qin Wei take any more. Lin Xuanya's words enraged old Madam Qin, her face turning purple. You want an old woman like me to cram into a tiny dormitory? Lin Xuanya, what are you scheming? You're holding a grudge against me and trying to make things difficult for me, aren't you? Seeing his mother's fury, Qin Hai rushed to comfort her. Mother, don't be angry. I'll buy a villa for my younger brother and his family. The property deed will be in both your names. Having achieved her goal, old Madam Qin looked triumphantly at Lin Xuanya and said pointedly, Well, you're a filial son. It's getting late. I'm going to rest. You should get some rest too. Qin San watched their infighting with a cold smile. It seems this house is about to be turned upside down. Back in her bedroom, Lin Xuanya angrily questioned her husband. Hi, why did you agree to give a villa to your good-for-nothing younger brother? Do you know that villa is worth tens of millions? Qin Hai, hearing his wife Lin Xuanya's grumbling, grew irritated. It's just a villa home. I can earn that back in a few months. Why are you making such a fuss? Lin Xuanya remained indignant. But why should we give him the money? Qin Hai seemed to have lost his patience. Remember, he's my younger brother. A few tens of millions isn't anything. It's just a little help. Lin Xuanya's voice rose. A few tens of millions. You try giving me a few tens of millions and see how you feel. Her anger simmered. Qin Hai, my parents didn't approve of our marriage, but you promised me a good life, so I married you. If I'd known it would be like this, I would have listened to them and found a young, talented man to marry. Qin Hai, feeling belittled, tossed his phone aside and retorted, his voice equally loud. Lin Xuanya, if you keep making such unreasonable trouble, we'll get a divorce. Lin Xuanya ground her teeth in fury. Qin Hai, no longer wanted to stay in the room, stood up and walked away. Lin Xuanya, pointing after him, yelled, You ungrateful wretch. If it weren't for me threatening to break off the engagement and squeezing the last of my family's money out of them, would you be living so well now? She rushed over and grabbed his arm, continuing her tirade. Now that you're rich, you've forgotten all I've done for you, haven't you? Qin Hai, is there another woman out there? Is there, huh? Qin Hai felt utter disgust for this shrewish woman. If it hadn't been for the Lin family's money, he wouldn't have bothered pursuing her in the first place. With that thought, he shoved her arm away forcefully. Lin Xuanya, don't think I wouldn't dare divorce you. Lin Xuanya, losing her balance, fell to the floor. She covered her face and sobbed. Why has it come to this? Qin Suo, hearing the commotion, seized the opportunity to enter the room and comfort her mother. Mom, don't worry. The math competition is coming up. I'll definitely get a good result. Then you and Dad will be happy, and our family will be harmonious again. Lin Xuanya, still weeping, said, It's true. Only you understand my heart. So A few days later at school, Chin Suo anxiously awaited the list of participants for the math competition. She thought to herself, there are 2 spots for our class. Besides Tuoyidu, there's one more. Lu Ming and I tied in the last test, but he's in the 4th grade, so it's likely to be me. But teacher Liang Hua's next words sent her crashing back to earth. This time, our class only has 1 participant. It's class president Tuoyu. Chin Suo was filled with disbelief. What about the other spot? Is it Lu Ming or Chin San? She blurted out, rising to her feet. Who is it? Teacher Liang Hua, though displeased to mention the name, replied, it's Chin San. Chin Suo clenched her fist beneath her desk. Anyone but Chin San. I can't let my parents know she's better than me. She can't participate. A wicked idea began to form in her mind. It seems I need to put my plan into action. The teacher handed Chin San and Tuoyitu each a stack of study materials. Go over these questions at home, he instructed. Your math skills are excellent, even better than mine. Don't feel too pressured. I believe you both can do it. Be careful on your way home. His gaze lingered on Chin San, a flicker of concern in his eyes. She's never competed before. She must be nervous. But seeing her composed demeanor, he felt reassured. She'll be fine. Both Tuoyitu and Chin San thanked teacher Liang Hua in unison. Outside the school gates, Tuoyitu politely excused himself. I have something to attend to, classmate Chin. I'll be going now. Chin San watched them go, lost in thought. Based on her past life experiences, she knew that Mrs. Tuo would fall seriously ill in just 2 weeks. In that previous life, upon hearing the news, Tuoyidu had skipped school to work, missing the college entrance exams. She sighed, a pang of regret for a wasted talent. Tuoyidu was capable and had a good personality. Perhaps she could recruit him to her company in advance. Just then, Chin San's sharp senses picked up a hostile presence behind her. She didn't react, pretending not to notice anything amiss. She continued walking at a steady pace. A few unsavory characters emerged from behind, following her. Seeing her turn down a narrow alleyway, they dropped all pretense of stealth. The 3 men stepped out, blocking her path. Well, look who it is, the pretty lady all alone today. Knowing their intentions were far from good, Chin San's face turned icy, an aura of menace radiating from her. You've been following me this whole time. What do you want? The men seemed surprised by her directness. Oh, you knew we were following you and still let us here? Pretty brave, aren't you? One of them, his eyes roving over her appraisingly, nudged his companion. Boss, she's a real looker, wouldn't you say? The figure, the face, we haven't seen anything like it. We've hit the jackpot. Another, clearly unaware of the danger he was in, leered at her. She's a beauty, all right. So, little sister, are you coming along quietly, or do we have to make you? Chin San regarded them with utter contempt. Who sent you? Zhao Jia, Chin Suo, or Liang Hua? She listed these 3 names because, in her mind, they were the only ones at school who wished her harm. The man, wisely not revealing their employer, reached out to grab her. Enough talk. Pretty girl, you're not getting away today. Just as his hand was about to touch her, Chin San exploded with lethal force. She swiftly blocked his arm, and before he could react, delivered a sharp kick to a very sensitive area. Not stopping there, she stomped hard on his head, eliciting a series of pained groans. Chin San, radiating an icy dominance, looked at the 2 remaining thugs. What are you waiting for? Come on. Witnessing her brutal efficiency, the 2 men trembled. Their leader, writhing in pain, saw his underlings frozen in fear and yelled, What are you idiots standing around for? Get her! Snapping out of their stupor, the 2 thugs charged at Chin San with a desperate bravado. Instead of dodging, she seemed almost amused. Well, at least you have some guts. With a single kick, she sent the blue-haired thug flying. As the other's fist came hurtling towards her, Chin San smoothly ducked, effortlessly avoiding the blow. Then it was her turn. She retaliated with a punch to the face, landing squarely. In less than 5 minutes, all 3 thugs were down, sprawled on the ground, moaning in pain. After the brief workout, she rubbed her wrist. It's been a while since I've stretched these muscles. She was about to teach them another lesson when a worried voice called out, San San. The interruption forced her to pause. Looking back, she was quite surprised to see Fu Hanxian running towards her. Mister Fu. Fu Hanxian, seeing the bruised and battered men lying on the ground, breathed a sigh of relief. He reached her, gripping her shoulders, his voice laced with worry. Thank goodness I followed your location. Are you alright? Seeing his anxiety, Chin-san felt her heart flutter. Mister Fu, I'm fine. He couldn't help but pull her into a tight embrace. San, thank goodness you're okay. Held so close, Chin-san blushed, acutely aware of the rapid beat of his heart against her. Does he care for me this much? Without hesitation, she wrapped her arms around him in return. The air around them crackled with a sweetness neither had anticipated. Fu Hanchuan's assistants and bodyguards, arriving on the scene, witnessed the embrace and blushed themselves, stammering out a greeting. See, the interruption shattered the tender moment, and Fu Hanxian, radiating a chilling aura, turned a sharp glare on his employees. The startled group quickly averted their gazes. Say, I didn't see anything. I just wanted to say, the security detail has arrived. Fu Hanchuan's face remained impassive as he looked down at the three men sprawled on the ground. Assistant Lin, he commanded coldly, take these three away. Find out who dared to lay a hand on San. Visibly shaken by the incident, Fu Hanxian turned back to Chin-san, his voice filled with concern. San, please don't do anything so dangerous again. Call me if anything happens, understand? Looking into his eyes, seeing the genuine worry reflected there, Chin-san felt a warmth spread through her. I understand, she replied, her voice soft with emotion. Suddenly, a strange sound reached their ears. Instantly on alert, they moved cautiously towards a nearby wall, concealing themselves. Just as they disappeared from view, teacher Lianghua appeared, leading a group of students. Looking at the empty alleyway, she spoke aloud. Where are they? I receive a message saying Chin-san was cornered here by those thugs, she thought, frowning. Her gaze fell upon a pool of blood not far away. That must be Chin-san's blood. I've dreamt of something happening to her. I can't believe it actually worked. A cruel smile spread across her face. As if to confirm her suspicions, she addressed the students behind her. Go find Chin-san, dead or alive. I want her found. Overhearing these words, Chin-san's brow furrowed, her dislike for teacher Lianghua intensifying. Once the coast was clear, she and Fu Hanxian emerged from their hiding place and headed towards his car. Inside the car, his hand remained clasped tightly around hers. San, leave the investigation of this incident to me. She didn't refuse, but offered a reminder. Mr. Fu, focus on the Zhao family and Lianghua. If Qin Suruo is involved, leave her to me. Her mood darkened. Qin Suruo and I have been enemies for 2 lifetimes. I will not show her any mercy. She swore to herself. She loves to bask in the admiration of others. I'll make sure she falls from the highest height. Meanwhile, at the Qin family home, Qin Suruo, wiping down the tables and chairs, smirked to herself, thinking that those lowlifes had surely succeeded by now. She thought, relishing the image of tomorrow morning at school. There's bound to be a ton of students gossiping about Chin-san's ruined reputation. Just then, the doorbell rang. Old Mrs. Qin, seeing Qin Suruo hadn't reacted, scowled. What are you standing there gawking at? Do you expect this old woman to get up and answer the door myself? Get going and open it. Grumbling under her breath as she went, Qin Suruo muttered, damn old hag. What time is it? Who will be coming now? Throwing open the door, she saw the person standing there and recoiled with a startled cry. Why is it you? The person who appeared was none other than our leading lady, Chin-san. Smiling, she waved a teasing hand at Qin Suruo. Good evening. Qin Suruo's face darkened. Chin-san was completely unharmed, showing no signs of any struggle. Had everything failed? How could Chin-san have possibly escaped 3 grown men? Chin-san quickly noticed the shift in Qin Suruo's expression. Her voice turned cold. What's wrong? Is it not normal for me to come home? Qin Suruo, afraid of being exposed, feigned innocence and waved her hand dismissively. That's not what I meant. I just mean it's so late. It's past 7 o'clock already. Suddenly, Chin-san leaned in close to Qin Suruo's face, her voice a challenge. Qin Suruo, are you surprised to see me unharmed? Qin Suruo's face paled, then flushed. Sister, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Oh really? But I want to remind you of something. You know very well what you've done. With that, she brushed past Qin Suruo without another glance and entered the house. Chin Suo seethed with resentment. Old Mrs. Chin, seeing her granddaughter return, spoke up with a lesson. San-er, you're the granddaughter of the Chin family. From now on, you don't need to be polite to certain people who stubbornly cling to the Chin family and refuse to leave. If you want to scold them, scold them. If you want to hit them, hit them. Absolutely do not let anyone cuckoo their way into our nest and lord over you, understand? Chin San felt a certain fondness for her grandmother. She smiled and replied with a simple yes. Old Mrs. Chin, not mincing words, turned to Chin Suo. I'm talking to you. All you do is lie around lazily. Now get in here and clean up. Resentfully, Chin Suo picked up a mop and began to clean. I can't believe Chin San escaped. How can she be so lucky? No, I can't just let her off the hook. I have to find another way. Meanwhile, at Fu Hanchuan's place, Assistant Lin, after interrogating the three thugs, hurried to report the situation. CEO Fu. The interrogation is complete. Fu Hanxian, sitting in his chair with his eyes closed, asked, what were they planning to do to San? Assistant Lin handed over the iPad containing the information and explained the Zhao family ordered them to intimidate Chin San. Furthermore, Chin Suo gave them 300,000 NDT to assault Miss Chin, take photos, and post them online to ruin her reputation. Fu Hanxian took the iPad, his face hardening with anger. Investigate everything they've done and hand them over to the police. He paused, then added, wait. Let's wait until after San finishes her math competition. It won't be too late to deal with them then. Though fatigue lined his features, he was reluctant to leave, worried about her being alone. Also, bring all the work that needs to be handled in the next few days here. I'm going to the Imperial Capital tomorrow. Book me 2 tickets. Assistant Lin, having received his instructions, promptly departed to make the arrangements. After a moment of thought, Fu Hanxian took out his phone and called Chin San. The phone had barely begun to ring when he heard her voice. Mr. Fu, it's so late. Is there something you need? His voice softened. I have to go to the Imperial Capital tomorrow for some business, and it just so happens you have your competition coming up. I was wondering if you'd like to come with me. Chin San's voice brightened. Really? I'd love to go with you, Mr. Fu. She added, oh, and I've already spoken to the principal. Could I stay with you for the next few days? You could take me to the competition venue. She hadn't expected such an offer, and a blush warmed her cheeks as she mumbled, live with you, Mr. Fu. The next day, they boarded the plane together, headed for the math competition. As he fastened her seatbelt, Chin San asked, Mr. Fu, is it all right for you to come to the Imperial Capital with me? Her heart fluttered nervously. She was still embarrassed about the whole living together suggestion. Fu Hanxian, not wanting her to overthink it, quickly offered a casual excuse. Well, I happen to have some business in the Imperial Capital anyway, so it works out perfectly for us to be together. He looked at her expectantly. We can stay together, so it's easier to look after each other, right? Hearing the sincerity in his voice, she happily agreed. The plane quickly took off. Chin San gradually drifted off to sleep. He gently reached over and took the magazine from her grasp. Then he let her lean against his shoulder so she could sleep comfortably. Just then, a flight attendant approached and asked, Sir, would you like anything to eat? Fu Hanxian raised a hand to silence her. Just a blanket, please. The flight attendant quickly returned with a blanket as requested. He thoughtfully draped the blanket over her to keep her warm, a gesture both tender and considerate. And so, they both drifted into a peaceful sleep, enjoying each other's company. When the plane landed, he gently nudged her awake. San, we're here. She blinked sleepily, rubbing her eyes. Mr. Fu, was I leaning on you the whole time? He chuckled. Yes. She blushed, embarrassed. Before she could finish her sentence, he cut her off. It's all right. He stood up and took her hand firmly, leaving Chin San looking at him with wide, questioning eyes. Fu Hanxian quickly offered a flimsy excuse. It's crowded. I don't want you to get lost. Then, with a happy smile, he led her away. As they stepped into the airport terminal, they saw Assistant Lin waiting for them. Assistant Lin respectfully presented Fu Hanxian with the car keys. CEO, here are your keys. He took the keys and looked at Chin San. San, let's go to my villa so you can rest first. She nodded trustingly. Back at the villa, Fu Hanxian busied himself in the kitchen, preparing a lavish meal for her. San, eat up. I'll take you to the competition afterward. Thank you for all the trouble, Mr. Fu. He handed her a bowl of steaming soup, cautioning gently, it's a little hot, be careful. He rested his chin in his hand, utterly content as he watched her eat the food he had prepared. His kindness made Chin San feel a pang of guilt. Looking down at her soup, she asked casually, "Mr. Fu, I was just thinking, what if you have a girlfriend someday? Will you still be this nice to me?" She glanced at him expectantly, waiting for his answer. Deep down, she yearned for his continued kindness. The indifference and betrayal she'd endured in her past life made her cling desperately to this warmth, unwilling to let go. Fu Hanxian, his gaze profound, placed a hand on his chest and spoke with utmost sincerity. "Shan, my kindness towards you will never change, not in this lifetime." He carefully wiped her mouth with a napkin, adding silently a sentiment only he could hear, "My girlfriend can only be you." Once he set his sights on someone, he pursued them relentlessly, regardless of the outcome. At the examination hall, a throng of students bustled inside. Teacher La encouraged his two students, Chin San and Tu Yi Tu. "Your skills are solid. You got this. Good luck." Fu Hanxian waved to Chin San. Suddenly, a teacher from another school approached with a condescending sneer. Well, if it isn't the defeated Teacher La. "What brings you and your students to the competition today?" He glanced at Chin San, his laughter laced with mockery. "That student of yours seems rather green. Has she even participated in many competitions? Aren't you afraid of being embarrassed bringing such dead weight?" Teacher La, bristling at the insult to a student, stepped forward to retort. "Teacher Lee, you should be more concerned with your own students' scores." Teacher Lee let out a derisive chuckle. Well, let's see who has the last laugh." As the bell, signaling the start of the exam, rang out, the test papers were distributed. Every student focused intently on their work. Chin San finished in about 30 minutes. She set down her pen and rested her head on the desk, falling asleep. A proctor, passing by, frowned at the sight. "In all my years, this is the first time I've seen a student sleeping during an exam. Which school sent this student? Not only does she not know the material, but she also has a terrible attitude." The proctor picked up Chin San's paper, his expression skeptical. "She wrote a lot, but it's a complete mess. There's no way she could have finished all the questions in under 30 minutes. But the truth before his eyes was undeniable. After reviewing her paper, the proctor froze, stunned. "All correct? How is this possible?" He placed the paper back on her desk, his gaze lingering on her with newfound respect. "Unless she knew the answers beforehand, she's a true genius." The clock ticked towards 9:50. Chin San stood up, uttering words that sent a ripple of astonishment through the examination hall. "Sir, I'm submitting my paper." Ha Manwen, sitting behind her, scoffed. "I thought the representative from H City Middle School would be some kind of math prodigy. Turns out she's just a quitter." As Chin San exited the hall, whispers and murmurs erupted, both inside and outside the building. Finishing 40 minutes early? She's either a fool or a genius. The exam was notoriously difficult, even for seasoned mathematicians. Outside, reporters turned their attention towards her. The reporters swarmed Chin San, eager for a statement. "Leaving so early, did you finish the exam, or are you giving up? Was it difficult?" Online speculation suggested it would be the hardest exam in 15 years. "What are your thoughts?" Chin San, her eyes shining with confidence, replied, "I didn't find it difficult at all. I'm confident I'll take first place." Teacher Lee, the physics instructor, listened with his hands on his hips, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Teacher La, your student is certainly fast. There's still more than 40 minutes left in the exam. Can she possibly finish it? Or did she just give up because she couldn't answer the questions? I wonder if she can even get 20 or 30 points on this test." Teacher La chuckled softly, offering a gentle rebuke. "Lee, I advise you not to speak too soon. Don't count your chickens before they hatch." Teacher Lee, not one to back down, retorted, "Fine, then I'll wait for the final results. I believe Ha Manwen from our school will definitely take first place. Just you wait and see." The results of the competition were released that afternoon. And, of course, the person at the top of the list was none other than Chin San. She had achieved a perfect score of 100, securing first place. Looking at the posted scores, everyone erupted in shocked murmurs. A perfect score? Is that even possible? Teacher Lee, frantic, pushed his way through the crowd to see the results for himself. Manwen. Where's Manwen? After searching for a moment, he finally found his student's score, a dismal 21st place. Manwen was utterly disbelieving. How is this possible? How could I be in 21st place? Teacher Lee, redirecting his frustration towards her, berated her sharply. Oof. Look at Chin San from that other school. She submitted her paper early and still got a perfect score. You, on the other hand, barely made it into the finals. I'm ashamed of you. The shock of Chin San's victory curdled into suspicion in Han Manwen's mind. Impossible. Chin San must have cheated. She was sleeping for half an hour. How could you get a perfect score? I think she must have bribed the examiners, or someone must have given her the answers beforehand. Her words caught the attention of those around them, and some even started to believe her. A perfect score in just half an hour? And in a math competition? How is that even possible? I thought she was a genius, but I didn't expect her to cheat. Another voice chimed in. The exam papers are kept at the Ministry of Education. It seems she really does have connections there. Teacher Lee, seeing the growing consensus, added fuel to the fire with a sneer. Indeed, some schools aren't what they used to be. They're willing to resort to underhanded tactics to steal the spotlight. It's not impossible that they'd do something like this to attract talented students. Teacher La, clenching his fists, spoke with fierce conviction. My student would never cheat. I believe in her. Chin San has the ability to achieve this. Teacher Lee, still fuming, retorted. Of course you defend your student. Just then, an authoritative voice cut through their argument. Minister Chun of the Imperial Capital's Ministry of Education approached Teacher Lee and questioned him directly. Who said the Ministry of Education is backing Chin San? Are you suggesting we leak the answers to her? Teacher Lee, beads of sweat forming on his forehead, stubbornly replied, Isn't Chin San's result a little too unbelievable? If we don't investigate this thoroughly, it'll be hard to convince everyone. A flicker of unease crossed his mind. What's going on? Why are the officials from the Ministry of Education here? Are they here specifically because of Chin San? Minister Chun, incensed by Teacher Lee's baseless accusations, roared, Preposterous! As a teacher, you should understand that there are always greater heights to be reached. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean Chin San can't either. You can't just accuse a student without any evidence. And yet you dare to slander the Ministry of Education. This is outright rebellion, isn't it? Faced with Minister Chen's imposing presence, Teacher Lee shrank back, stammering, yes. He then shifted the blame onto his student, shoving Han Manwen forward. Apologize to Teacher La quickly. Your studies aren't good enough, and you still slander others. Chin San isn't someone you can provoke. Although Han Manwen felt a grudging respect, she could only lower her head. Teacher La, I'm sore. She didn't get any further before Teacher La cut her off. If you want to apologize to Chin San. Minister Chen walked over and patted Teacher La's shoulder in commendation. Chin San and Tu Yitu are excellent students at your school. Make sure to nurture them well. Teacher La beamed, unable to contain his smile. Later, while at Fu Hanchuan's villa, Chin San received a text message from Teacher La. Chin San, congratulations on achieving a perfect score on this morning's exam. She excitedly shared the news with Fu Hanxian. Mr. Fu, I got a perfect score. He stroked her hair, a smile playing on his lips. That's wonderful, Chin San. Noticing his hand lingering on her head, Chin San blushed crimson. She stammered shyly, Mr. Fu, your hand. Lost in the blissful moment, Fu Hanxian suddenly came to his senses and withdrew his hand. Quickly changing the subject, he asked, Chin San, would you like to move out of the Chin family home and find a new place to live? She answered honestly, not really, not yet. He leaned closer, his voice soft. Chin San, my place is very quiet. You could move in any time. His unexpected offer surprised her, her eyes widening. Move in with you?